Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Market Monitor. I almost said the Big Tech Frenzy. I got to get used to that. In today's video, we are obviously going to be talking about the markets, monitoring price action, different things that are happening over the next few hours, as well as going over some of the topics that I've been focusing on, different stocks that I've been monitoring, and overall just getting into regular market and tech news as per usual. Ladies and gentlemen, how's everybody doing? Jay Powell says this is Nvidia's and Google's decade. I know. He also said that the big tech companies are not going to care whether or not we get a rate cut. So that's not very hopeful for me, I guess, right? If Jay Powell is also saying that he believes in big tech, but okay, let's jump into some stories. First off, if you are potentially bearish on the markets, and that would have worked out for you in the past, 2, let's say 3 weeks, perhaps, potentially look to Robinhood. Robinhood has been rolling out short selling and is officially available as of yesterday, going short on stocks. You know what's crazy is that this was actually shown off at their latest event, and they used SoFi as their example of a stock to short. They weren't giving investment advice, of course, but there is a little rivalry between the two fintechs that are actually pointing both towards super apps these days. So I just thought that was so freaking interesting. Hood stock, however, with these new types of tools, roughly flat on the day. Whenever we look year to date, they're still up 200%. So congratulations on that tripling in the stock price if you guys have been advocates for the stock. But as we look closer to what has happened today, we are seeing roughly flat from where we were on close yesterday. Selling off all the way to 112 and then potentially bouncing back up to 115.95. Okay. In other fintech news, you have SoFi down roughly 1.8%, actually broke below $26 today to $25.71. A lot of people that I've been following are saying 25 is going to be a very hard resistance to break through. So if those are purchase prices for you, let me know. I'd love to hear, but yeah, that's what SoFi is doing. And then obviously the main one that I want to talk about today, and we're going to be covering a lot of what's happening with Nvidia. Nvidia down 1.6%, actually touching in the morning 179.65. Earnings are tomorrow. It's not the greatest sign of confidence seeing a lot of selling before we see the numbers. If we look to, last quarter, what we ended up seeing is that the numbers were really good. Lots of beats. Commentary was good from Jensen, and then the stock also just went down on that news. So, there's only so much that that you can do fundamentally in order to drive the stock even higher. But that being said, let's immediately jump into a video talking about what we could potentially see for Nvidia tomorrow based on some of the options activity that we're seeing. Let's go ahead and share this.
Still trying to find its footing following last week's big move lower. Nvidia is one of the names in the red. That stock is down about 2% as it gears up for earnings on Wednesday. Our next guest says these results will be a pivotal event for year-end sentiment since Nvidia is worth nearly 10% of the NASDAQ and 8% of the broader S&P 500. So what exactly is the options market telling us about what traders are expecting? For more, let's bring in Chris Murphy, the co-head of derivatives research over at Susquehanna. Now, Chris, the Nvidia report, the options implied move is roughly 7% up or down. The key is that more or less volatile than it has been historically? What does it tell you?
Believe it or not, hey, Don, believe it or not, it's less volatile than we've been expecting over the last couple of years. Basically, what's happening is, Nvidia has 80 to 90 analysts. It trades 3 million options a day. Everybody is looking at this. Any kind of unknowns or inefficiencies are kind of traded out. So as we've gotten each successive quarter, as more eyeballs are on this print, the move in Nvidia has actually been smaller. Now, that doesn't mean its impact on the broader market hasn't been smaller, but the actual Nvidia moves are getting smaller. I would expect around 6 or 7%, unless it's a big surprise in one direction or another. And if it is a big surprise in one direction or another, that's going to be the way that the market trades into year end.
Chris, what exactly does the so-called skew tell you about what's happening with the options trade in Nvidia right now? That is to say, the relative price of options for call options to buy 10% away from the money versus 10% below the money for put options. How is that playing out right now? What does that tell you about sentiment?
We're seeing a lot more demand for upside in Nvidia options compared to downside than we normally see. That might surprise some people with stock down, something like 10% over the last 2 weeks. But if you really think about it, people have gotten out of the stock, booked some profits, taken down some risk, but they don't forget about the stock. And if anything, they're looking to position for a potential rebound or show that they're willing to buy the dip through the options. So there's a lot more demand for upside in the options and a lot more supply or put selling on the downside. And because of that, we see a shift in what we call skew to the upside, much more so than we've seen in a while.
All right. Outside of NVIDIA, NVIDIA is, maybe you could call it the focal point or the center of that kind of AI solar system, if you will. There are other plays around AI as well in NVIDIA. Where exactly are you seeing other notable options activity tied to the AI trade that are not directly tied to NVIDIA itself?
It's a good question. So, we saw a call spread trade in, for example, ticker ETN. And, we don't see a big catalyst coming up for that specific stock. So we start to work backwards a little bit. And then, it sounds like, potential partnership with NVIDIA. If that name is mentioned specifically on the earnings call, then of course you could see a lot of upside. And it kind of goes back to the general.
I don't care about this as much. I was more there to hear about the higher upside on Nvidia than potential downside of what people are actually seeing. Now, the mix from the 13Fs that we saw was a little bit different than potential, bullish catalyst going into this quarter. That's also something that's bringing it down a little bit. Peter Thiel ended up selling off all of his Nvidia. We saw, who was it? Masayoshi Son sell off $5 billion, which I think was their full stake in Nvidia, to then go and invest heavily, about a $22 billion investment in OpenAI deals, and help set up data centers as well. So it's sort of a weird mix of people essentially saying, hey, you know what? If the data, or if the AI train is real, which not many people are denying, and in fact, we continuously see more and more models that are proving better use cases. We just saw Gemini 3 today end up getting posted with insane results. So I'll show you guys that in the evaluation. Actually, I can show you it now. In the evaluations for Gemini 3, which just got posted for Google, this is just incredible. It's actually a little bit small on the screen. Let me switch that to make it a little bit bigger. If we take a look here across all of the largest benchmarks, especially Humanities Last Exam, Gemini 3 Pro with no additional tools ranked at 37.5% on Humanities Last Exam. These percentages are starting to get extremely high. I remember whenever we were just breaking the 10% mark, and that was blowing a lot of people away. Now we're starting to take these massive improvements higher, and it's not just designed just to beat Humanities Last Exam, but in fact, going across the board, seeing better and better results versus any of the other top models. So we also saw a massive improvement from Grok 4 to Grok 4.1. That was a big improvement as well. And with ChatGPT, the 5.1 model as well, which was also quite exciting. So as those improvements are made, there's more use cases for artificial intelligence. It increases the amount of tokens required in order to, allow these models to do proper use cases. We're now, like, there was a interview recently with Sam Altman that said, hey, How can we take these automated background tasks from a couple hours to a couple days? Well, what is the token generation needs or requirements to run multi-day tasks in the background while you continue to go about your day? Like, to me, I just think about the GDP expansion of something like that actually happening must be insane. Now, in order to also facilitate these types of new tasks, you're going to need the best chips with the lowest total cost of ownership. Currently, that is Nvidia. I think there's some concerns that because, potentially Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta's looking, OpenAI is looking into custom silicon as well, that they might be able to crack the code and end up, not requiring NVIDIA's chips as much. And then that would end up bringing down NVIDIA's gross margins. And eventually we might see a miss on NVIDIA's earnings where the sort of change in price is not seen as well from public markets to when actually the earnings get published, right? I think people were worried about that whenever we started going over to more Blackwell architecture. At the start, the ramp hurt gross margins a lot, but that's actually not what we ended up seeing. And through the rest of the fiscal year 2026, gross margins improved, and now we're potentially going to end out the year at 75+% gross margins, right back to where the highs were for Nvidia. So concerns are high, but with that, you're still seeing the investment come in at extremely high rates. If I can also, should I stick on Nvidia really quickly or should I stick on Google? Let's finish the Google conversation just really quickly, as Sundar ended up posting this video on Gemini and some of the tools and how it also works on AI mode directly in Google search. I'm just going to mute the volume because it's only music, but it is quite interesting how they are, building with these models today. So as you can see, essentially the thing that they want to get across is building, learning, and what was the other one? I forget. Is it design, build, and learn? Might be that. But it's they're getting very, very good. I'm interested in what it means for integrated directly into tools, right? How does this end up working whenever I am on Google Sheets, whenever I'm in my email, whenever I'm learn, build, plan? Yeah. They're only going to get better. Like, even Gemini 3 is going to be the worst that it ever is today. So that is very much the case. Let's go ahead and bring up the triple Qs right now, down once again by 1%. These are massive sell-offs across the broad market, which is just, very painful day after day. And this is where retail fatigue can sort of start to set in and think that we're in a game that is against you, a game that smart money is playing and sort of rotating your money into their pockets. But that only happens whenever the impatient begin to sell and not believe in their conviction, or their original conviction, I should say. That's sort of the problem. That's a very famous Warren Buffett quote, is that the stock market is an engine to transfer the impatient money to the patient money. Well, to the patient's pockets, I guess. And it's very true. Honestly, you can just withstand bear cases if you just simply wait. It's whether or not you believe that Google's products are going to end up yielding them more earnings. That's what every stock should be judged based on, is how much earnings can they have over time. What is the chance that Meta ends up earning more money over time? What's the chances that Amazon especially makes money over time? I would think that very few people even doubt the Amazon model at all over a long period of time. Margins have improved over time. Meta continues to get better and better models to enable them to offer, more, what do you call it? Directed or personalized advertising, which then goes into them being able to charge more if customers are feeling like those ads are better target or more suited towards them, then they're less angry to receive them because they could be, advertisements that actually ended up selling them something that they really wanted to get. All of these things are quite good. Now, Ethereum, which is what my hat says as well, is one of these things that could potentially be a long-term beneficiary of more and more of Wall Street and other financial institutions and non-financial institutions as well, using more of their services on blockchain, but it can take a very long time. So patience is going to be that big thing that we continue to talk about on the show. And hopefully by some of these clips that's what we can continue to try to build up over time, is just building up some of that confidence. Now with that, in the short term, people still want to know that, are they buying the bottom? Where can I put my money most effectively? And if there is an AI bubble, I know people say, hey, Tanner, I'm aware that like things will be fine, but I'm also not wanting to just put my money in so then it gets burnt over the next 18 months. Like, can we find somewhere near the bottom in order to safeguard, some of those short-term gains? And then this is what comes to that sort of a cyclical financing that everyone says about artificial intelligence, where, potentially Jensen is buying into stakes of OpenAI. OpenAI is using that money to go buy Jensen's chips, or, potentially to, what do you call it? Microsoft. So then they set up those data centers, and then Microsoft is going and buying Nvidia chips. That sort of, perfect circle. Well, it might not be stopping. And that's also what's building up concerns these days as well, is that we just saw another one from Microsoft, Nvidia, and Anthropic this time. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this video and them talking about this brand new partnership that comes with investments from Nvidia, investment from Microsoft, and partnerships, obviously, strategic partnerships with Anthropic.
Super excited to be here.
Oh, let me go back real quick.
Super excited to be here with Dario and Jensen. What both of you are doing, NVIDIA at the silicon layer and Anthropic at the cognition layer, is shaping what every developer and every organization will be able to build on going forward. On our side, we have been scaling NVIDIA across this fungible Azure fleet at the speed of light, something that Jensen's been talking to me about for multiple years now, and we're continuing to set pace, including with the AI Super Factory we announced just last week. And we've been deepening our partnership with Anthropic as well, incorporating their models across the entire Copilot family. And today, I'm excited to share that we are taking another step. We're increasingly going to be customers of each other. We will use Anthropic models. They will use our infrastructure, and we'll go to market together to help our customers realize the value of AI. This announcement encompasses 4 key things. First, customers of Microsoft Foundry will be able to access Anthropic's Claude models. Second, we are continuing access for Claude across our Copilot family. Third, Anthropic is committing to Azure capacity. And finally, NVIDIA and Anthropic are also establishing a partnership to support Anthropic's future growth. For us, this is all about deepening our commitment to bringing the best infrastructure, model choice, and applications to our customers. And of course, this all builds on the partnership we have with OpenAI, which remains a critical partner for Microsoft and OpenAI and our customers, and provides more innovation and choice. With that, Dario, why don't you tell us a little more about the partnership, what this partnership means to Anthropic?
Yes, in terms of Microsoft, I think, as you mentioned, Satya, both of us believe in choice, and we're excited to bring our models as a choice to Microsoft Azure, and Anthropic will be the first model that is available on all three of the biggest clouds. Second, Microsoft has a reputation as a strong enterprise company, and Anthropic does it as well. So we have the opportunity to work together, to go to market together, and to provide intelligence to the world together. And, we're excited to kind of accelerate the diffusion of this technology as the technology continues to improve. And finally, we're very excited to get additional capacity that we can use both to train our models to support Microsoft first-party products and to sell together. And that brings me to the Nvidia part of it. We are very excited to add substantial support and substantial use of Nvidia's accelerators for use by Anthropic. Nvidia has led the way in this field, in many ways has helped make this entire AI boom possible. We think this is going to be just the beginning of a very long partnership. We're excited to work together to co-optimize models together, starting with Blackwell and then moving on to Vera Rubin. We're excited to announce up to gigawatt of capacity, and that's just for now. That's just where we're starting. And so, we're very excited to continue the co-optimization, to further build out NVIDIA's already incredible ecosystem.
That's fantastic.
It looks like, Satya is not, or I guess Sam Altman's not the only person that can diversify and work with other partners. And, Microsoft is tied to this one player. Now they're going over to Dario and saying, hey, let's also work with Anthropic very closely, also investing $5 billion in Anthropic. They also saw deals with Amazon and Google, and Nvidia just put an additional $10 billion, or will put an additional $10 billion in Anthropic. So they are, pinning themselves as a very big winner here. Obviously, they've worked more with the actual enterprise level customer rather than the consumer. They are starting to work with the consumer more, but ChatGPT has definitely focused in on that space. So you definitely don't see Claude as much on the consumer side, but you definitely see it on the enterprise side. And Claude Code is some of the best tools that you can use in the space.
Fantastic. Well said, Dario. And one of our core beliefs is that you can't make progress just in one layer of the stack. You have to advance every layer: silicon, systems, models, applications, while optimizing effectively for all the things that customers care about, right? COGS, latency, performance. And one of the things that we're also establishing today is this new partnership, as you described, between NVIDIA and Anthropic. So Jensen, maybe you should talk a little bit about sort of what you all are excited about.
Thanks, Satya. NVIDIA's DNA is to build the most advanced computing systems in the world and to accelerate the most challenging workloads in the world on the most important platforms in the world. And this conference call right here embodies that very thing. This is a dream come true for us. We've admired the work of Anthropic and Dario for a long time. And this is the first time we are going to deeply partner with Anthropic to accelerate Claude. I can't wait to go accelerate Claude. The work that Anthropic has done, the seminal work in AI safety, the advances of Claude Code, the engineers of NVIDIA love Claude Code. The fact that you can go and literally refactor your code for you, it's pretty an amazing thing. And the work on MCP, the Model Context Protocol, has completely revolutionized the agentic AI landscape.
If you guys didn't know that, that's actually true from Jensen. Obviously, but Anthropic actually created the MCP, the Model Context Protocol. So quite interesting how much all these different players have affected the total space. It happens in every technological revolution, in almost any single change or product. Once one company does something so much better than the others, they all adopt that standard, and then it's this sort of race to the bottom and better pricing, more efficiency. It's actually better for the consumer over time. Capitalism in general is better for the consumer over time. Usually the only times where it's not is whenever the government has to step in to try to regulate, to try to help with malpractice. What actually happens is that you end up cementing winners, and then their margins can balloon to such levels because it's costs so much for new players to end up getting in.
And so the contributions of Anthropic, the advanced research that is done there, the incredible researchers, the incredible infrastructure team that works at Anthropic that makes it possible for you to scale up to what you have already done. It's really quite phenomenal. And now your business is on a rocket ship. It's just scaling so incredibly. And so I can't wait to go accelerate Claude on Grace Blackwell with NVLink. I'm really, really hoping for an order of magnitude speed up, and that's going to help you scale even faster, drive down token economics, and really make it possible for us to spread AI everywhere. And so I'm really, really super excited about that. Now, the work that we've done with Microsoft over the years, Satya, is broad and deep. I mean, it's incredible, all the things that we do. The work that we've done to shift left all of our engineering so that at the moment we have new technology, it appears on Azure. Notice the scale that we've now already achieved with Grace Blackwell 200 and 300. The number of systems that are already out there helping researchers pioneer the next frontier in AI. Really fantastic work there. But we do everything from data processing to search to image recognition to fraud detection to, right, all kinds of stuff that we're doing, from classical computing to classical ML to generative AI to agentic AI. The work that we're doing just spans the entire range of technology. But what's really, really incredible is, of course, Microsoft has the world's best enterprise go-to-market. This is the next giant frontier, enterprise and industrial AI. That's where, as you know, the vast majority of the world's economy is. And in order for us to get to every single enterprise, that enterprise go-to-market takes decades to build up. It is, it's not one of those things that's just because you put it on the cloud, you're going to be able to serve the world's enterprise. The enterprise go-to-market is very complicated. And this is where the two of us have such great harmony, because NVIDIA's computing is in every enterprise. And we're in every enterprise in every single country. Now, this partnership of the three of us will be able to bring Claude to every enterprise, to every industry around the world. And so this is a really exciting time.
I'll close with this. As an industry, we really need to move beyond any type of zero-sum narrative or winner-take-all hype. What's required now is the hard work of building broad, durable capabilities together so that this technology can deliver real, tangible, local success for every country, every sector, and every customer. The opportunity is simply too big to approach any other way. Jensen and Dario, any last thoughts on this?
I'm just excited to, take a large number of chips and use it to serve our mutual enterprise customers together to make the smartest models, the models that run the fastest for the lowest possible cost.
Jensen?
I think the world is just barely realizing where we are in the AI journey. We're seeing 3 scaling laws happening at the same time. Pre-training is scaling incredibly well still. Post-training, the more compute you give it, the smarter the AI. And then, of course, inference time scaling, test time scaling. The more the AI thinks, the higher the quality of answer. And so we're now at a point with AI where it is very clear that the more compute we give it, the more cost-effective compute we give it, the smarter the tokens, the smarter the AI is going to be. And the smarter the AI, the more adoption, both in the new applications that integrate these AI APIs and the more frequently, how more frequently you use it. And so the quality of these AI models now have really reached an inflection point. And so we've got these 2 simultaneous, exponentially increasing compute demand. And I guess the thing that's really great is, they're going to need a lot more Azure compute resources, and they're going to need a lot more GPUs. And we're just delighted to partner with you, Dario, to bring AI to the world.
Absolutely.
Now,
I don't know. Sorry, I just got something that came up really quickly. Obviously, I should stay on track, but let's go ahead, and I wanted to take a look at Tom Lee's granny shots. I didn't realize, obviously, if you guys don't know this, the Tom Lee's Granny Shots ETF has been expanding into many more ETFs. They went from one ETF, obviously the Granny Shots ETF. Now they're also getting into small and mid cap investments and large cap and income investments. Now, what's really interesting, let's go ahead and take a look at if we can find a prospectus here, because I just heard something that said that SoFi is the only company in all three of the funds. So we'll have to take a look at that, but that would be quite interesting. Where is it here? Okay, so Granny Holdings, SoFi is in. We know that. And then the small and mid cap, let's see where the holdings are. Here, let me share my screen really quick. The small and medium or mid cap, SoFi is in that one. You can see that right here. Or I don't know if you guys can see my mouse sort of in the middle there. It is in that one as well. And then if we go back, large cap Granny, large cap ETF, they're in this one as well. SoFi's over on the right near the chat on screen. So that's quite interesting. US small and mid cap and large cap. So SoFi is all of them. Large cap and income. Supposedly it's in this one as well. Let's see. SoFi. Yep. It's there. According to data-driven investing on X, it's the only company that overlaps all three of them. How crazy. I mean, come on, if you're like a 30 or $28 billion company, you're kind of right in that intersection of, are you a large cap or are you this, potentially just smaller investment? Really quickly, Trump just went live. So let's go ahead and pop in, see what he has to say. If it's not about the AI investments, then we're going to leave. Let's take a look.
And that's after destroying our petroleum reserve, which was meant for wars and big emergencies, not to try and win an election. They opened up the reserve so that people get $3 less in gasoline, and it didn't work. They got about 3 cents less, because as big as those reserves are, they're peanuts when you're talking about that kind of traffic. And we're rebuilding the reserves. We're doing all of this, and we've done a job. We're also bringing down prices very substantially, and we've already brought them down very, very substantially. Gasoline is way down. I think you'll be seeing $2 gasoline, but we're now at $2.50, $2.45. Some are lower than that. It was $4.50, $5, $6, $3.50, $3.75, under by all different numbers, but way high. And we have energy way down. But the biggest thing to me, because I know what it means in jobs, is the fact that we're at over $17 trillion, Scott, and we expect to be around $21 trillion in 1 year. And that's many times bigger than in history. The highest number was $3 trillion. And we're going to be at 21 trillion. That means new plants, new AI, new auto plants. We have auto plants coming in from Canada, from Mexico, from Germany, from Japan. Toyota just agreed to invest $10 billion on new auto plants, all American workers. We've never been in a position like this. You can go back to the beginning. Our country has never been in a position like this. And it really is because of the fact that we use tariffs to bring all this money in. And you're going to see the results in a year when these plants start to open up. We have more plants under construction now than at any time in the history of our country. And these are big plants. These are the biggest plants anywhere in the world. And I want to thank you because you've agreed to invest $600 billion into the United States. And because he's my friend, he might make it $1 trillion, but I'm going to have to work on him. But it's 600. We can count on 600 billion, but that number could go up a little bit higher. Yes, or I don't know. We'll see. But we appreciate it very much. So Saudi is going to be investing at least $600 billion. And that means investments in plants, in companies, money on Wall Street. And what it really means for everybody that really counts is jobs, a lot of jobs. We have a lot of jobs. So I just want to thank you. We've been really good friends for a long period of time. We've always been on the same side of every issue. I think we've done a great job in wiping out the nuclear capacity of Iran. Nobody else could have done that. No other president would have done it. We had the pilots in the Oval Office right here. We were celebrating a very successful attack. So I had them in with that beautiful B-2 bomber that's over there. And they said, sir, for 22 years, we practiced this attack. Our predecessors, these were very young guys. So 22 years, they said our predecessors and us practiced the attack on Iran, but no president ever gave us the go-ahead. 3 times a year, they went out and they practiced the attack. Nobody let us do it until you came along, and I let them do it because it was the right thing to do. You can't have a nuclear Iran. And so we put you in a very good position. But I just want to say it's an honor to be your friend, and it's an honor that you're here. And if you'd like to say a few words, but thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. This relation has been a relation for about 9 decades, and we've been working together for a long time. But today it's a very important time in our history because there is also a lot of things that we're working on in the future. We believe in the future of the United States of America. We believe in what you're doing, Mr. President. It's really creating a lot of good things and good foundation to create more economic growth, more business in America. And it will also your work for the world peace. I believe, Mr. President, today and tomorrow we're going to announce that we are going to increase that $600 billion to almost $1 trillion of investment, real investment and real opportunity by details in many areas. And the agreement that we are signing today in many areas in technology, in AI, in earth materials, magnet, etc., that will create a lot of investment opportunities.
So you are doing that now. You're saying to me now that the 600 billion will be 1 trillion.
Definitely, because what we are signing it will facilitate that. And
I like that very much. No, that's great. I appreciate that. That's great. We're doing numbers that nobody's ever done. And in all fairness, if you didn't see potential in the U.S., you wouldn't be doing that.
Definitely.
You don't want to lose money.
As you said, Mr. President, it's the most hottest country in the planet. But what you're creating is not about opportunity today. It's about also long-term opportunity in the United States of America that will affect American economy positively in the next coming decades, preparing the right foundation of emerging technologies. That's a game changer for America in a good way, and we want to be part of it.
Yeah, we're doing really well. And this, you don't see what we're doing so much because we have, although the construction industry sees it. If you look at Caterpillar, who's been incredible, the tractors, everything else, the numbers that we're doing in construction are unbelievable. Some of the plants that we're building, AI, and they're building their own electric with the plant. I gave them the right to build their own electric with the plant because no country, frankly, will have this. China's working very hard to produce enough electric, but we're beating China substantially at AI, which is a big thing. And we had a great meeting 2 weeks ago with President Xi, but on AI, we're doing well. And I have a man, David Rommel.
Yes, sir.
David, could you say a few words about what you're seeing on the job front and all of the some of the assets, and also how we've been helped by the Saudis in terms of the kind of investment they've made, please.
Yeah, most certainly. Thank you for the opportunity. I am a facility leader for GE Vernova. And if you look at the landscape for GE Vernova investment, over $750 million in the U.S. focused on true manufacturing jobs here stateside. We're looking at tripling the output of our Greenville, South Carolina facility, where we make the gas turbines that are supporting U.S. needs as well as the Saudi Arabia needs.
Right.
So real jobs, $300 million in gas investment, resulting in over 500 pieces of new equipment being installed in the Greenville, South Carolina facility. That translates into roughly 1,800 jobs across the board for GE Vernova as we try to scale capacity to be able to meet this demand. Along with that, we're partnering with local communities to build the skill set that's required to meet these capacity needs. So that talent pipeline is incredibly important. So it's real jobs in the manufacturing space.
Well, you've been great, and thank you very much. And we love that state. I won that state by record numbers. I won a lot of states by record. Texas, a lot of them by Indiana. We're working with Indiana or something right now. We won that. We won a lot of them by records, but that was one of them. I want to thank you very much. Say hello to everybody. Great job. You're doing a great job. Thank you. So just in wrapping up, we'll take a couple of questions, but I want to just tell you what an honor it is to be your friend. And I very much appreciate the investment of now $1 trillion, okay? I'm glad you got that out. I didn't want to be the one to tell them, but that's great news.
You keep increasing, Mr. President.
I know.
Each time the opportunities are just increasing more and more.
Well, the opportunities, right? We're doing better. If even if you look back 6 months ago, I mean, now all of a sudden you feel even better. So, and I think we're only going to go in one way. Does anybody have any questions?
Mr. President, have you approved the export licenses for advanced chips to Saudi Arabia? The export licenses?
We are working on that. We're negotiating that right now. Marco, do you want to talk about that, or Scott?
Well, I mean, that's part of what we may have announcements on that later today. But that's what we've been working on is the mechanics by which something like that could be achieved. And it's part of the broader process, part of this broader engagement and cooperation between our two countries.
Certain levels of chips. Yeah.
And for the Crown Prince, Your Royal Highness, you're talking about $1 trillion of investment. Could the kingdom continue to do that with oil prices in the mid-60s?
We are not creating a fake opportunities to, please America, please President Trump. It's real opportunities. For example, when you ask about the AI and the chips, Saudi Arabia have a huge demand of a huge need of computing power, and we're gonna spend in the short term around $50 billion by consuming those semiconductors for our needs in Saudi Arabia. And with the agreement that we're gonna have with South America, that will allow us to focus that consuming power in the short term by $50 billion from the South America, and long term with hundreds of $billions in the long term. So there's a lot of real opportunities that fit to our need in Saudi Arabia and fit to our investment strategy.
Mr. President, is it appropriate, Mr. President, for your family to be doing business in Saudi Arabia while you're president? Is that a conflict of interest? And Your Royal Highness, the U.S. intelligence concluded that you orchestrated the brutal murder of a journalist. 9/11 families are furious that you are here in the Oval Office. Why should Americans trust you? And the same to you, Mr. President.
Now, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news, ABC fake news, one of the
But the
worst,
question is
one of the
legitimate,
worst
sir.
in the business. But I'll answer your question.
Thank
I have nothing to do with the family business. I have left, and when I've devoted 100% of my energy. What my family does is fine. They do business all over. They've done very little with Saudi Arabia, actually. I'm sure they could do a lot. And anything they've done has been very good. That's what we've done. We've built a tremendous business for a long time. I've been very successful. I decided to leave that success behind and make America very successful. And I've made America more successful by far than it ever was, and that it ever could have been, no matter who was president. There would be nobody bringing in $21 trillion, that I can tell you right now. As far as this gentleman is concerned, he's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
Okay, just you ask, Mr. President,
Please,
if you allow me to answer. I feel painful about the families of 9/11 in America, but we have to focus on reality. Reality based on CIA documents and based on a lot of documents that Osama bin Laden used Saudi people in that event for one main purpose, is to destroy this relation, to destroy the American-Saudi relation. That's the purpose of 9/11. So whoever buying that means they are helping Osama bin Laden's purpose of destroying this relation. He knows that strong relation between America and Saudi Arabia, it's bad for extremism, it's bad for terrorism. And we have to approve him wrong and to build our relation, continue developing our relation. It's critical in the safety of the world. It's critical against extremism and terrorism. About the journalists, it's really painful to hear, anyone that been losing his life for, no real purpose or not in a legal way. And it's been painful for us in Saudi Arabia. We've did all the right steps of investigation, etc. in Saudi Arabia, and we've improved our system to be sure that nothing happened like that. And it's painful and it's a huge mistake, and we are doing our best that this doesn't happen again.
Mr. President,
Mr. President,
this side, Mr.
thank
President.
you, Mr. President. The Crown Prince has been instrumental in helping lifting the sanctions on Syria. Will there be any joint investment between the U.S. and Syria? And will you visit Damascus?
Are you from Syria?
No, but
Where are you from?
I'm from Palestine.
Oh, making a lot of progress, huh? Very good. Well, they like me. The Palestinians like me. The Palestinians are doing very well, actually. I think we're working very closely with a lot of people that make everybody happy, including Israel, the Palestinians, and everybody. That's very interesting. No, I think that I will tell you, the Crown Prince called me, and he specifically asked me if I would lift the sanctions on Syria because he wants to see Syria make it. As you know, the leader of Syria was just here. We had a great meeting, and he's a strong guy, and I guess you need a strong person to run it. And I think Syria has made tremendous progress. We did lift the sanctions at the request of the Crown Prince. Also, the president of Turkey, Erdogan, called me specifically. He said, you know, if you don't lift the sanctions, Syria doesn't have a chance. If you do, they have a very good chance. And between the two of them and some others, I lifted the sanctions. And the results so far have been pretty good.
Mr.
President,
Can
I
ask you a question about the F-35s that are being sold to Saudi Arabia? Are these the same ones that are being used by the Israeli military? And if so, how does that allow for the qualitative military edge for Israel? And then I want to ask you, because you brought up the plight of the Palestinians, are you aware of relocation flights to South Africa that are taking place right now?
Which flights?
There are relocation flights that are taking place. Some Palestinians are being charged up to $2,000
I'm
a
not going to
seat.
South Africa for the G20 because I think their policies on the extermination of people are unacceptable. So I'm not going, so I won't refer to anything having to do with South Africa. South Africa has behaved extremely badly. But I will say that when you look at the F-35 and you're asking me, is it the same? I think it's going to be pretty similar, yeah. You know,
How will that
this
affect-
is a great ally, and Israel's a great ally. And I know they'd like you to get planes of reduced caliber. I don't think that makes you too happy. They've been a great ally. Israel's been a great ally. And we're looking at that exactly right now. But as far as I'm concerned, I think they are both at a level where they should get top of the line. Yes, please.
Can I just quickly ask for the Crown Prince, if I could just ask about the direct talks between U.S.
That's all right. Steve, 1 second. Go ahead.
Have you reached an agreement on the U.S.-Saudi defense treaty today? And are you going to bring up the Abraham Accords in your discussion?
I already brought them up.
What did you say?
I think I got a positive response. Would you like to respond?
Yeah, so
I'll put you on the spot.
yeah, so definitely we believe having a good relation with all of these countries is a good thing, and we want to be part of the Ibrahim Accord, but we want also to be sure that we secure a clear path of two-state solution. And today we have a healthy discussion with Mr. President that we're going to work on that to be sure that we can prepare the right situation as soon as possible to have that.
I think we're, you know, I don't want to use the word commitment, but we've had a very good talk on the Abraham Accords. We talked about one state, two state. You know, we talked about a lot of things in a short period of time. We'll be discussing it further too. But I think you have a very good feeling toward the Abraham Accords.
Yes, definitely, Mr. President. We want peace for the Israelis. We want peace for the Palestinians. We want them to coexist peacefully in the region, and we will do our best to reach that day.
And the defense agreement, have you reached agreement on that?
We pretty much have.
Question for the Crown Prince, if I could just finish.
We have reached agreement on that. Okay.
I wanted to ask you about the direct talks between the United States and Iran. Have you been fully briefed on that? And are you concerned at all about how this might impact Saudi security interests?
Well, we are close ally. We'll be working closely together on that issue, and we will do our best to help to reach a deal between the United States of America and Iran. And we believe it's good for Iran's future to have a good deal that will satisfy the region and the world and the rest of America. So we will do our best to see that they happen.
And by the way, Iran does want to make a deal. I can say I think they very badly want to make a deal. I am totally open to it, and we're talking to them, and we start a process. But it would be a nice thing to have a deal with Iran, and we could have done it before the war, but that didn't work out. And something will happen there, I think. But they would very much like, I mean, they may say something else, but they would very much like to have a deal.
Do we have a
Mr. President,
timeline?
Yeah,
that you are
please.
going to sell 35 F-35
Say
jets. You are planning, you said you are planning to sell the F-35 jets to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Is it part of the security agreement? And how you assess the defense partnership between Saudi Arabia and the United States? And the question was,
Well, no, I just said it, though. I mean, we're gonna sell them F-35s. That's the end of the question, I
is
guess.
it part of the security agreement or no?
No, we're gonna have a deal. They're gonna purchase F-35s. They're buying them from Lockheed, and it's a great plane. We make, by the way, the best military equipment. You saw that during the Iran little skirmish. We make the best planes, the best missiles. We make the best offensive missiles. We make the best military equipment in the world.
Nice. For His Royal Highness, I would like to ask you about how you see the cooperation between the United States and Saudi Arabia in the advanced technological field, especially AI, and how it will support Saudi Arabia to serve its goal to achieve the vision of 2030.
Well, I will try to answer that in short, but definitely there's a lot of interest in many industries between Saudi Arabia and America, and we are signing a lot of agreements in different areas that will really add value to American economy, but also to add value to us in Saudi Arabia. And AI, it's critical for us because one of long-term problems that we could have is lack of workforce. As you've seen in the past few years, some of them have reached 30% of the global immigration to Saudi Arabia. So we know that to assure the Saudi Arabia GDP growing, with the lack of workforce that we have, we need to use a lot of computing power to replace job in the long term. So that's huge demand in Saudi Arabia, and we want to link it to American private sectors and getting the supply from America. So there's a lot of opportunities in that area.
And we're also involved in AI in Saudi Arabia. So we're working, and we're leading by a lot on AI. Actually a lot. China would be in second place, but we're leading by a lot. And I have to say this, and our relationship with China has been very good. And as far as buying our farm products, they're pretty much on schedule, Scott. I'd like you to call them, say if they could speed it up, would be good. Okay, but they're pretty much on schedule.
Yeah, sorry, please. I may have a question for both the Crown Prince and Faisal Abbas from Arab News, Saudi Arabia, Your Excellency.
It should be a friendly question.
Your Royal Highness, just picking up on something you've just mentioned about how some people try to destroy the relationship between Saudi Arabia and the United States. Perhaps, since the launch of the vision, we've been used to having the bigger picture and that everything fits into the bigger picture. Might you want to elaborate a little bit about where is the relationship, the bilateral relationship, the strategic partnership between Saudi Arabia and the United States heading, and what's the big picture there?
Well, I don't think it's a relation that we can replace it from the Saudi side or the American side. It's a critical relationship for our political attempt, for our economical attempt, for our security, for our military, for many things. And it has been there for 9 decades. And the opportunities that we have today, it's huge. And seems that it's going to get deeper in the next few decades. And what we are having today and tomorrow with President Trump, it's really a huge new chapter in this relation that will add value to both of us.
When you think about it, I'm just sitting here. You're with the future king, a man who's respected by everybody, a man that doesn't have to be doing this, really. I don't have to be doing it either. And yet we're sitting here taking questions, we didn't say, oh, you can't talk about this. And there's never been transparency like this, even in his country, but there's never been, in our country, that's been acknowledged, but we didn't put restrictions. And I'm saying it's sort of wonderful to be taking questions from all over the world. Everybody's here. This is just a small group representative of tremendous numbers of media that are outside.
All right. Maybe we'll get back to it, but we're kind of past the market conversation. But as that comment just said, the AI trade is coming back. Well, the comments from Saudi Arabia there ended up saying that they are no longer agreeing to a $600 billion deal like Trump said. Trump sort of put it out on the side saying, hey, you know what, maybe we can do $1 trillion. And they ended up saying, yes, no, we can. The Crown Prince made it very apparent that you know what? Right around this point, as the market was dropping on some of Trump's comments, ended up saying, wow, you know what? We are investing an additional $400 billion. That's roughly, what is that? Like an 80+% increase on what they were originally suggesting. So quite the bump up and continuing to climb. Nvidia seeing very similar results. And actually probably one of the biggest beneficiaries is Nebius, up 6.5%. I just recently purchased into this name. Nebius ended up seeing quite the tick up, not since that point. That was sort of right here where we're seeing that additional leg up, but continuing throughout the day. Now, this might also be in due part from new products that Nebius is putting out. So one of the things that's been sort of hard to understand is AI going to create new potential jobs, right? I think that this is probably one of the first use cases of where an AI product is actually going to need more humans than less. And I think that this is quite interesting. Manuel ended up posting on X here and said Toloka ended up announcing a new product, which Toloka is one of the products that Nebius is owning, called Tandem. The industry first hybrid AI and human agent. Let's go ahead and listen to this 45-second long demonstration of what exactly is happening here.
Ever wish you could hand off your tedious work tasks and know they'll be done right? Welcome to Tandem. Here's how it works. First, our AI breaks your task into a clear plan. It handles the heavy lifting, like research and first drafts. Then one of our human experts steps in to guide the strategy, review results, and add that critical final polish. But here's the most important part, our dual-layer quality check. First, our system auto-checks for any errors. Then, a human expert personally verifies the entire thing, making sure it's accurate, reliable, and ready to use. The result? A final, polished deliverable you can use with total confidence. Tandem handles the busy work, so you can focus on your work. Ever wish?
So potentially actually needing increased jobs potentially to just go through and verify that the information that the AI agent is actually giving is true. Of course, they're going to pay a little bit extra for that, but the accuracy might be much higher. Let's go back really quick to Trump and see, because the conversation is still happening. I want to see if they are talking about this an additional $400 billion of investment.
For us too, because it creates jobs, it creates a lot of things. And I would say, Scott, right? When you hear one country is putting $1 trillion into the United States, that creates national security. And, I think that they don't have to say
I'm just going to go back because I want to hear what the question actually was.
For you, Mr. President. Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, how much you expected from developing the cooperation with the United States in the field of new energy, AI, supply chain? How much you expected from that?
No limit. We just continue pushing forward. There's no limit. So we just push forward for all the opportunities that we have.
You have to understand, this is really a great ally. Just the fact that they're now doing, I came in here at 6, I did not know that. I was pushing for the 1 trillion, but he didn't tell me that. Now he told me. This is a great ally of ours. When you invest $1 trillion, that's national security for us too, because it creates jobs, it creates a lot of things. And I would say, Scott, right? When you hear one country is putting $1 trillion into the United States, that creates national security. And, I think that they don't have to say that, but I think a big part of that is also the fact that tariffs are in play. But even beyond tariffs, that's a real ally that will do that. Creates a lot of power for the United States.
We are also in Saudi Arabia very happy because this much of Saudi money is functioned here, and of course it's come back for us for benefits. So it's complementary interest. So this is the I think what the different friends and allies do.
Well, look, I love the country of Saudi Arabia. I know the people very well. The level of treatment that we go when we go to Saudi Arabia is something that is incredible. And the people like us, and I think they really like America, especially when I'm president. I don't think they liked America so much maybe for 4 years recently. I think Obama treated Saudi Arabia very, very badly, as you know. And I think Biden didn't have any idea where the hell he was. I don't think Biden knew the difference.
How would you describe the future relationship with Saudi Arabia? I mean, from the strategic aspects, how would you describe that?
The relationship is with?
Yeah, and then of economic
I would say
politics
top of
and
the line.
religion.
It's as good as it can. I don't think it can get much better. We have a country that trusts us, and that's why they make that investment. If they didn't trust us, they couldn't make that investment. And we trust them. They've been very reliable. Now I rebuilt our military in my first term, and we spent trillions of dollars, and we gave away some of it in Afghanistan stupidly because we had stupid people running our country. But we gave away, but that's as much as it was, it's a tiny fraction of what we put here. And we're bringing our military to a new level, the highest level ever. We have those plants are going out. And again, it's all American jobs and everything. So it's good for a lot of reasons. But as far as Saudi is concerned, no, I don't think our relationship could be better. I don't think they had a great relationship under Biden, and I don't think they had a great relationship under Obama. But they have a great relationship under Trump. When we did the presidential walk of fame, you saw that, right? And we're walking, and I asked the Crown Prince, so outside of Trump, because I blow everyone away, who was the best president for Saudi Arabia? And you could maybe, it's an interesting answer. I don't know.
Roosevelt, who started it, which is a Democrat. And Reagan, he's one of the historical presidents that have close ties with Saudi Arabia. But we've worked with all presidents.
Does Trump blow them all away?
No, it's another league, Mr. President.
Mr. President?
And Trump doesn't give a fist pump. I grabbed that hand. I don't give a hell where that hand's been. I grabbed that hand. When remember Biden? He travels for 20 hours, gets out, and he gives a fist bump. No. When you get out of the plane and you got the future king and the man who's one of the most respected people in the world, you shake his hand. You don't give him a fist bump, right? We don't want to ask you about that, but I can't imagine you were thrilled. You were like a little bit surprised. He's a fantastic guy. You don't do that. Yeah, please.
We're getting closer to the end of the year. Have you started the interviews for the Fed chair?
Yes.
Who have you interviewed?
I think I already know my choice.
Who is it?
Well, I liked him, but he's not going to take the job. He refused. You like Treasury better, right?
Much better, sir.
So we are talking to various people. And frankly, I'd love to get the guy currently in there out right now. But people are holding me back. He's done a terrible job, hurting housing a little bit. The truth is we've been so successful, we've blown past his interest rate stupidity. He's been wrong. That's why I call him too late. He's too late. Jerome too late Powell. He was recommended to me by a guy that made a bad choice. And it's too bad. But despite that, it's having very little impact because we have all of these things happening. But it has an impact on housing to a certain extent. He's a fool. He's a stupid man. But we have some very good people.
Yes, sir. You'll be sitting down with them in the near future. And
we have some surprising names, and we have some standard names that everybody's talking about. And we may go the standard way. It's nice to every once in a while go politically correct. But we have some great names. Steve,
have you talked to President Maduro of Venezuela yet? Are you still open to that?
He wants to talk.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm open to talk. I talk to everybody. But no, he wants to. They treated us very badly. They sent all of their prison population into the United States, and we're getting them out rapidly. But he sent all of his, and he sends drugs into the United States and other things. No, he treated us badly. He was dealing with a bad president, and he was able to get away. we have now, I think we have the strongest borders anywhere in the world. Nobody's coming in unless they come in legally. You know, we're taking very weak borders where millions of people came in. For the last 6 months, I mean, I don't do these reports. They say 0 people have been able to come in. Is that pretty good?
Mr.
I don't know if
President,
that's right, but it's
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. They're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did. Andrew Weissman, I hear. All these guys were friends of his. You don't even talk about those people. You just keep going on the Epstein files. And what the Epstein is a Democrat hoax to try and get me not to be able to talk about the $21 trillion that I talked about today. It's a hoax. Now, I just got a little report, and I put it in my pocket, of all the money that he's given to Democrats. He gave me none, 0, no money to me, but he gave money to Democrats. And people are wise to your hoax, and ABC's your company, your crappy company, is one of the perpetrators. And I'll tell you something. I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that, because I think when you come in and when you're 97% negative to Trump, and then Trump wins the election in a landslide, that means obviously your news is not credible, and you're not credible as a reporter. So I've answered your question. You should go and look at the Democrats who received money from Epstein, who spent their time. Larry Summers was with him all the time. That creep of the fund guy was with him all the time. What's his name? Who? Reid Hoffman. I don't know Reid Hoffman, but I know he spends a lot of money on the radical left. Reid Hoffman, in my opinion, should be under investigation. He's a sleazebag. And those are the people, but they don't get any press. They don't get any news. And you're not after the radical left because you're a radical left network. But I think the way you ask a question with the anger and the meanness is terrible. You ought to go back and learn how to be a reporter. No more questions from you. Who else has a question?
Prince, very quickly, I want to ask you, how much money is Saudi Arabia giving for Gaza reconstruction?
We are in discussion about that. Still, there is no amount being
It'll be a lot.
named, but
It'll be a lot.
we will definitely help.
Yeah, he's gonna. It's very important to him.
And a quick follow-up, the International Security Force, given your pledge there would be no U.S. boots on the ground, what is the U.S. role going to be in that? And how do you sort of ratify the allegations that this could undermine Palestinian sovereignty and even the path to statehood?
Look, I think we're going to get along great with the Palestinians, and we know their leadership. We just had a very, you hate to say war, but it was a war. Very, very successful. And you could say really it was on behalf of everybody. We did that on behalf of everybody. And the outcome was extraordinary because we had the best pilots, the best equipment, the best planes, the best everything. And Israel bought the best equipment. They bought it from us. Everything's from us. It all starts here. This office, I was talking to the Crown Prince a little while. You walk into this office, for somebody from the outside, the Oval Office, it's the most powerful place in the world. You're standing right now in the most powerful place in the world. And no matter how big you are, these are the biggest people, the richest people. They walk into this office. It's special, isn't it? Look at him. He's so happy to be here. But you walk into this office. It's the Oval Office. And we've done a lot of good with this office. I've stopped actually 8 wars. I appreciated your question before. But I've actually stopped 8 wars. I have another one to go with Putin. I'm a little surprised at Putin. It's taken longer than I thought. but we stopped India and Pakistan. I could go through the list. You know the list better than I do. I'm very proud. And I stopped one that was almost ready to start again. You know, there was one that was ready to start, and they're doing very well. So it all took place right here in the Oval Office, whether by telephone or whether by they came in. Many of these leaders have come in, and you know they signed their peace deals right here in the Oval Office. So no matter if it's the biggest business people in the world or the greatest leaders in the world, the biggest leaders in the world, like the gentleman on my right, everybody walks into the Oval Office and they say, wow. And now, by the way, the Oval Office is in the kind of condition that it should be in. Whether you look at the walk or the marble floors or anything down the road, we're fixing the White House. We're building one of the greatest ballrooms ever to be built. You know, we have an event tonight, and we're going to have about 118 people because we have a very small room. For 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom, and now you're going to get a great ballroom. And I have to say, I probably made a lot of enemies because in your honor, we're having a dinner tonight, a beautiful dinner tonight, and we have a very small room, right? It's called the East Room, and it's beautiful, it's lovely, but it's like for a little cocktail before you go into a ballroom. It's a very small room. They've wanted a new ballroom for 150 years. We could have sold the big ballroom out 3 times in honor of this gentleman. So I made a lot of enemies because I have a lot of people that are invited tonight or are unable to come because of the size constraint. But you know what we'll do before I leave office? We'll have another dinner because we'll have it ready long before I leave office, and it's going to be beautiful. It's you know, it's a very popular thing what we're doing. And by the way, no government funds. It's all put up private money, all private money. And in the case, I think it's there's a restriction on foreigners. Otherwise, I could have asked you just for a check, okay? But there's a restriction. These are all private individuals that put up a lot of money to build the ballroom. Not one penny is being used from the federal government. So it's really a nice thing. But I look forward to it. I just pointed it out. If this would be a perfect night to have that ballroom open, Susie. If we had that open, we'd have a lot of people very happy. Right now, we have a lot of unhappy people because they all want to be with us tonight to honor this great man. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that was happening. Nebius pumping. That being said, if we look at Nebius over the last 5 days, we've been at, you know, roughly $106 per share. We look back even further, 135. Look back even further, 141. However, today, good day. You got to celebrate the short-term moves sometimes, going back into the 92.40 range, which is quite exciting. If you were able to buy in the last few days of these lows in the 80s, you're sitting pretty in the green. That has not been the case. To find these types of buying opportunities that have turned around so quickly, you know, during this last month or so of, or last 3 weeks or so of red. Nvidia is still in the red on the day, down 1.4%. However, trying to recover after those comments about not only increasing investment from 600 billion up to $1 trillion, but also saying that a lot of that investment is going to go into artificial intelligence infrastructure and specifically semiconductors as well. If you're talking about semiconductors, you got to talk about the king, Jensen, who's going to be showing off some of his numbers tomorrow after the bell. We'll be live. BMNR up 7% back to 33.14. Once again, it's an exciting day. You got to enjoy those days while you have them. However, if we look back on the last month, we've gone from $55 down to 33. It's been an absolute bloodbath, down 37% in the last month. These are names that I hold. You know, it's harder to hold BMNR during these times, but if you are a believer in the underlying aspect of Ethereum, all right, and believe that much of finance, not just in the United States, but worldwide, will actually go on-chain, real-world assets, stable coins, tokenized real estate, these sort of things, then you are going to be a pretty happy camper as Ethereum continues to tick up, hopefully going back to the 4,000, maybe even 5,000 range if we're lucky maybe we've found the bottom. Who knows? I'm not calling for anything along those lines. I don't do technical analysis. I buy and hold for the long term, maybe a little bit of praying in between, but nothing that is, calling for any real bottom. Okay. Amazon. Let's take a look at Amazon here, down 3.7%, 224. It actually wasn't long ago where you've been able to buy at these, 211 prices, like essentially a month ago, right? You've been able to buy at $211. We spike up to 258 on an OpenAI deal with AWS. We saw, them using their own models in-house to actually help with deep fleet and help cut down costs. We ended up seeing a great performance in their last earnings, and AWS ended up seeing very significant growth, re-accelerated growth past 20%. So this sell-off is not that poor. I'm not worried. I think companies like Google, AWS, Google, Amazon, Meta, these are just safe names to buy. They're extremely large, but I think whenever people say AI bubble, they shouldn't be thinking about these names. They should be thinking about, the much more smaller names that are not making real earnings, that are a little bit more speculative. Those are the concerns, okay? You need to find companies, especially when the markets are wary, that there is a flight to quality. Buy quality names so then in any market cycle, people are still going to be using Google. They're still going to be buying on Amazon, and they're going to be checking on their Facebook statuses. There still will be effects based on just the amount of ad dollars that go into those businesses, but overall, they're still going to end up seeing great performance. Might not be growth in the short term if things get bad, like I'm talking recession bad, but they still are probably going to do fine over time. Let's quickly see. I want to check in on this video really quickly on the overall state of artificial intelligence. But before we do that, there's been, we just talked about startups and the companies that are not making money, but yet we continue to see some of the brightest minds follow into this space. Jeff Bezos creating a new AI startup called Project Prometheus, which they've already received $6.2 billion in funding, some of which came from Jeff Bezos himself. Curious, he'll be a co-CEO for this company. If these are signs of a worrisome time, or that we're near the actual top, yet we continue to see more and more of the smartest minds, more capital, larger, sovereign investment going into AI in general. I mean, I don't think many people actually think that this movement is fake or anything along these lines. It's just whether the timeline is true and if there's going to be real investment. And I don't think many of those people are going to see it in the P&L to see, hey, where's the AI revenue for most of these businesses? That's not going to happen. Walmart is not going to break out their AI revenue. But potentially, if employees or less employees are needed, for the amount of revenue that they're actually bringing in, maybe there's tools that are created or software that's also used to help with better organization of products, better, inventory management, better pricing to know how high can they get the prices and still be purchased, or that calculus of, how can we balance out that bell curve of the right pricing for the right amount of purchasers. However, that is always going to be in what do you call it? Contention? I'm saying that wrong, and I know. Contestion? They're going to contest whether that is true, okay? Whether or not artificial intelligence is yielding real reward. I personally, my strategy is so simple, it might be dumb. I look to the smartest names in the entire space and say, okay, what are they doing with their money? Oh, they're all investing in artificial intelligence. They might even be early, but they're not wrong, right? We saw this with mobile. We saw this with cloud. We saw this with the internet itself. These were all massive, major investments. And it looks like all the companies before it in that technological, computer-based space, they all still stayed alive, right? From the personal compute era, Microsoft was born. From the internet era, we ended up seeing Google sort of get born with the browser. Mobile, we saw Apple really start to take shape, and then cloud, we saw AWS really start to take shape. So there's always going to be a new winner. You know, social media, all these things. You end up finding all of these companies take shape, but yet maybe the new one, maybe the next wave will be ChatGPT or Anthropic or Nvidia, perhaps in this next wave. But it doesn't actually necessarily kill the old guard of the big computing space. So I honestly think these companies are very fast to adapt. They have high margins. They can invest a ton in research. And so they'll be on the forefront of the next, technological landscape as well. Let's go ahead and take a listen into whether or not there are bubble concerns for artificial intelligence.
Concerns about valuations in the AI arena, hitting the global markets ahead of Nvidia's quarterly results. Joining us now with more on the AI boom and perhaps bubble, Mitchell Green, Leading Edge Capital's managing partner and founder. I found the quote I wanted to read earlier, Mitchell, and we're talking about some of these gentlemen at Blue Owl Capital and what they're, in terms of funding this build out. We're talking about numbers that are so large, even in the low case, said Blue Owl co-founder Mark Lipschultz. Does it even matter if you keep counting after you get to $1 trillion of capital expenditures in the next couple of years? Is any of it real?
Is OpenAI too big to fail? Yeah. It's getting crazy. I mean, if you think about the first thing, shut me on.
Real quick, OpenAI is not too big to fail. No company is too big to fail. I don't believe that. Unless you're a globally systemic important bank and people's money is tied to those businesses, I think that those companies like JP Morgan might be too big to fail. Okay, because it would be catastrophic and it would reset capitalism potentially if we lost our big banks in the great financial crisis. However, a consumer-based product, even as large as Facebook or Google, are not too big to fail. If they do something wrong and continue to mess up, bye-bye. They have no reason to continue existing.
If you start to read these numbers and how much money a company like OpenAI or some of these companies are going to burn in their quests, is absolutely crazy. I mean, now you're reading about, I think Microsoft, the CEO of Microsoft was out recently talking about how they can't even they've got the chips, but they can't actually they got the data centers they're building, but they can't get power to the data centers.
Right.
So
there's
a little bit of la-la land.
It all seems to be. So you think it's a bubble? You're calling it la-la land. You're telling it.
I've been on here for the last 18 months, thinking that we're getting valuations are getting extended, but I don't think the valuations are actually being extended in the hyperscalers. Facebook is low 20s multiples given the growth rates. I think Alibaba, Amazon, Google, these things are going to win. They're building the infrastructure to build gigantic companies. I'm not sure why OpenAI should be worth $300 billion, $500 billion, $700 billion. I don't know what the right number is. These big hyperscalers have real earnings. Now there's a question, as Michael Burry's been talking about. We've been talking about these depreciation curves for a while. We don't short stocks. I buy private companies for a living. You are going to, interesting things are going to happen. Is it possible, these companies, giant hyperscalers are spending what, 50, 60, 70% of their free cash flow on CapEx? Maybe the depreciation curves may be too short, that they're saying, yes. I don't know how it all ends though, in that way. We do like to joke though that you're an Nvidia miss away from a recession in the United States. Because, so much of the market value has been driven, so much of the economy is driven by the market or people's consumer sentiment and things like that. You tell me if Nvidia misses the whisper number.
What quarter are they going to miss?
If I knew that, I wouldn't be here. I have no clue.
You don't have any idea about tomorrow night?
No clue. I suspect it's still strong given, now again, I don't know what the whisper number is, which is obviously, it's not even the whisper number that drives stocks now. It's the whisper number in a few years from now. Like take Ferrari, the numbers were good, but they said 2030 was going to be, was a little bit weak, was going to be less than people were expecting. So the stock was down. It's really what he says for forward numbers.
So are we seeing a canary in the coal mine moment already, or what would be that moment to look for?
It's a great question. It's probably not yet. The spend that these hyperscalers want to still spend, and the fact that these people want to build the data centers is so aggressively still, and people are still spending crazy amounts of money on it. Some of the VC dollars, I think, slowed down a little bit, and I know valuations are still very expensive in private venture land and AI. But you're starting to see, I think, a little bit more rationality there. The bubble pops when Meta, Google, Amazon, some of these other companies sit and say, we can't take any more of your chips right now because we can't build any more data centers, or we don't need any more data centers. We're probably still in the early innings of that.
What inning? Like
fourth, third, I don't know.
So if this is okay, so if this isn't going to the extent that, when would you get nervous?
When you see spreads blowing out. Actually, you know what?
It's too late.
You know when you get nervous is when you start to see a bunch of these private AI companies go public, trade at crazy valuations, yet have negative gross margins and crazy burn
in that case, then
could still be it could be 97.
We could be dancing, as Chuck Prince used to say, while the music's playing, you got to dance, kind of thing.
100%.
Which I was, it'll go down as one of the best and worst comments ever made. But you could be doing this at least for a couple more years.
100%.
But does it have to end badly? Is it possible that everyone grows into these valuations? Is it possible that the math does start to add?
Long term, 100%. Not 1%, 100%. Whether it was the telecom build out with fiber, whether it was the internet build out, whether heck it was railroads back in the day, people are hyped. Technology cycles always get overhyped. There will be giant businesses created as a result of this.
For sure, but the question is, how do you decipher who is the winner and who is the loser?
I would be investing in businesses today that generate real free cash flow, not GAAP earnings, but real free cash flow, and use it. That's why today's hyperscalers. I'm not sure the giant bubble is in Google, Meta.
What do you make? There's been obviously a lot of questions about the world of private credit and actually the connection between private credit and some of these hyperscalers that are now effectively leveraging them to go and build a lot of these data centers. Should we worry about that? Should we not worry about it? Do you think that the data set, the private credit world is actually a pretty safe world? Do you think it's interconnected, not interconnected? What's your...
Well, not being an expert in credit, I do believe, but if you started to see the largest hyperscalers in the world start to invest significantly more than their free cash flow into this stuff, say that, making numbers up, say that Facebook had 80 billion of free cash flow and was spending 50 billion on CapEx for AI stuff, but started to go spend $200 billion on it. Yes, that stuff would start to worry me. I've for a while thought some of this private credit stuff was a bit crazy. Living in the state of New York, living in the state of California, you can be a wealthy individual. You can go buy, long-term durated municipal bonds at 4 to 5%. For a high taxpayer, it's like 9% after-tax equivalent yield. Seems kind of crazy to me that, people are investing in this private credit at like 12%, 13% yields, given it's not that much of a risk and spread. But that's the right place to be looking, to look where these things start to blow out, or when you see the end customers, the Procter & Gamble's, Nikes of the world, start to pull back in the data center stuff. Yes, I think that will start to signify things, but we're not seeing it right now. The demand is strong. If you go talk to the Fortune 500 companies, they will. Every group in the company is trying to figure out how to leverage this stuff to grow. But we are still in the very early innings of it.
Okay.
Well, honestly, I saw your comments in chat. A lot of you guys seemed like he was being extremely bearish. I mean, to some degree he was, but I actually thought that what he was saying was pretty level-headed. If you can they grow in this valuation? Yes. He didn't really say anything was too overblown. He wasn't calling for a bottom at any point. He said the big names like Google and Facebook and Amazon are going to be 100% fine because they're making a ton of profit. That's the exact thing that I've been talking about, is a flight to quality, buying companies that are making money today. It's definitely real, and the increase is only looking like spend is increasing, and you can see that from all the big names. I actually don't think what he was saying was all that crazy. So, maybe there are concerns around certain neo clouds or something like this where he might differ from myself on just the amount of need for compute. But, even the old Hopper systems from Nvidia are still in great demand today. So, I think if there is, more advancement in semis, the biggest concern is always that something is created that just lowers the total cost of ownership, or the, just ruins the margin for Nvidia and changes the way that we look at compute. That would kill everything. But even every time that we've made a big step up in that architecture from, Hopper to Blackwell to Blackwell Ultra now, or the Grace Blackwell Ultra, those old systems are still in use. Obviously, less in demand than the new systems because the new systems TCO is the lowest. But yeah, let's see. He did say that at some point data centers would say we will need no more chips. Well, I think that the thing that he's trying to say, and I don't think that it's all that wrong, is that similarly to compute now, or compute right before artificial intelligence, like we're building into this new paradigm, right? But eventually, GDP is not going to consistently expand at extreme high double digits. Like there is going to be a balance where the amount of chips are actually meeting the amount of need. So at that, but I honestly think that we could legitimately be a decade away from that. So I think it's just different. Like if you're saying, hey, at one point it can't always just continue to have CapEx continue to grow as a percentage of revenue. I mean, that has to be true. But like, that's not really a statement that's worth writing down and being like, oh, we need to keep that quote. That's a quotable thing to say, is that eventually things will slow down. Hey, do you know that growth companies will eventually mature and then be valued as value companies? Thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate that. Great take. Okay. But it does mean that those chips, like not needing chips anymore, is a lie. I mean, there's always going to be a maintenance mode where those chips end up running the course of their life and you just need to buy a new one. To some degree, a GPU is a consumable. It's just over a longer lifespan. So in that case, NVIDIA at maintenance mode in a much more mature, price than it is today, could be maintaining all the GPUs, continuing to make smaller updates than the 30x token output year over year that we were seeing previously, and just make slow improvements. Okay, let's see. Tanner, could you address Burry's concerns over depreciation? It is true. I mean, he's not wrong about the idea that depreciation is the biggest place where you could add fraud. Like you're talking to an investment base that knows much less about the depreciation of GPUs than the big companies that are setting those numbers. However, I have heard some things about inference needing or inference having much longer lifespans on the GPUs because they're less stress intensive than actual training. So I am curious how that ends up working. Like maybe the expansion of those GPUs is because literally it is true. But yeah, I just kind of put it under the risk category whenever I see companies like, let's say, CoreWeave have a much higher or much longer depreciation of chips than Nebius. I actually think it just gives Nebius the upper hand because it's not going to show up in EPS, so it actually leads to much higher surprises, right? So yeah, I mean, it could be fine, or it could be real what he's saying, but it's part of the risk. If you see some of these companies have really high depreciation in their chips, don't take them too seriously. Okay. Isn't no the Burry thing? I think is on the 25th of November is whenever he has that that thing, a new blog or something that he's going to come out with. I'm not quite sure. We'll see. We will definitely see. There was a couple other comments. One actually ended up saying, Tanner, can you explain what being on the blockchain means? Can you help understand the concept of tokenization and why people believe Wall Street will move to the blockchain on Ethereum? Well, the moving on to the blockchain on Ethereum might be a little harder to explain just because it's not guaranteed that it'll be on Ethereum. We're just looking at like legitimately what those customers are doing today, and they are choosing Ethereum. So it's like as the iPhone and Android products were going head to head, a decade or more ago, it's like, okay, can you prove which one is going to win? No, but we can look at the sales data and just see that Apple continues to win in the United States, Android's winning a lot abroad, and judge it that way. Currently, if you were to look on chain, you would see Ethereum is currently winning. Now, why would they want to work on chain and bring more money on chain and these sort of things? Well, it's just essentially a technology. Okay. I think the whole idea of on chain has just confused people to the nth degree. If you'd look at any other technological advancement, whether or not, why would a customer, orchestrate payments through GPN versus ADN or something like this? It's like, who is going to into the actual details to realize how they're lowering costs and doing these sort of things? So, I would say going on blockchain is essentially you are, cryptographically securing that information. So only you will be able to, see that information and open it up if you're the one with those seed phrases and everything. This is going to get so much more confusing than I thought. I'll just go to the very simple ideas. Is that one? It's cheaper to send payments and costs less energy than a Visa transaction to do an Ethereum transaction. Okay. It costs more than a Google search on your computer costs more energy cost than an Ethereum transaction on an L2 like Base, for example. So if you're talking about, the total cost of running all the transactions, all the information that's being sent back and forth in your business, it would actually cost less to go on Ethereum. Now, the concept of tokenization for something like real world assets, well, one, you can already really buy fractionalized stocks and stuff like this, but it's mainly because of ETFs and funds that they've been able to essentially create a software that says, hey, we're going to buy these stocks because we know that they're good stocks like Google and Meta and Microsoft. And then we can go out and give however much someone wants of that fractionalized share. And we can just tell them that they own it. We'll give them back their money, but we can't actually send a 0.01 of a stock. That doesn't really exist. So we're almost giving them a certificate to come back and they can get their money for what that stock would be worth, but we're going to hold the rest of those shares. So if you buy 0.1% of Google, for example, what they end up doing is that they end up going to 1,000 extra people that want 0.1% of Google, and they make up those shares. And then they have a list, like a ledger of all those people that own that one Google share. And they do that over millions of shares, over as many companies as they possibly can. But essentially, it's just spreadsheets. Well, Ethereum is just a software that does that natively. They have native fractionalization. It has low cost. It has high security. It's just the way that the system works. I'm not going to talk about all the layers of the onion and the staking that's required to verify that network. But essentially, it's just a new technology, similarly to the way that we've used new technology and new coding languages before, that you're essentially able to store money, store information, and information can come in the form of images or videos or, stocks or what have you. but people are just using it to lower cost, be able to use 24/7, and increase security. It's as simple as that. And that's the way that it should be looked at. For the nerds who want to get into the nitty gritty, one, I'm not even your guy to explain it that well. And two, there's so much additional detail to get into with Ethereum privacy and ZK cash and all this stuff that I don't even try to understand. Okay. But you can just watch what Wall Street is doing, and you can see, because Ethereum is fully transparent right now, that you can just see where money is going and where it's being stored on chain. Tanner, I missed you yesterday. Yes, we will not be doing the 7. I'm taking a break from the 7 o'clock streams right now, 7 Eastern Standard Time, to focus more on these midday streams that allows me to just buy back the end of my day. Yeah. Okay. So noon to whatever time after we get through all of our stories is when we're going to end the stream. Do you use Arkham for that? You definitely can use Arkham for that. I don't personally use Arkham, but there are a few of them. You can do, what is it? Block Research, Artemis, Arkham. There's a bunch of these companies that will aggregate all of that data that's on chain, so then you don't have to essentially go through lines of code. They're just putting it into a nice UI. What's your average on Nebius? I think it's 84. I can check for you. Steve also gave me a call. You want me to call him back? Let's see what Steve's up to. He gave me a call, and we were listening to a video at the time, so I turned him away. Tanner, has your SoFi end-of-year price target changed now that Steve didn't answer? Now that December rate cut is no longer certain? No, I wouldn't say so. One, it's just a price prediction if that were to happen. I haven't really thought about if it's not going to happen. I do think that there's going to be a December rate cut. So, yeah. Meta broke under 600. It certainly did. It's just a matter of whether that's a buying opportunity. And I don't think that the bulls on Meta, do you really care? Honestly, I want to know the big investors, because we only got the 13 Fs for the people that sold Meta before we knew what Q3 numbers would look like. So essentially, those were the people that bought and sold Meta based on Q2 data. I'd love to see the certain funds that had said, hey, you know what? We don't like the fact that they had paid their taxes and are investing in more property and equipment for years to come. Because I'm a net buyer of Meta, for sure. Not even a net, even net buyer sounds like I'm buying more than I'm selling. No, I'm just buying. Tom Lee did not respond, no. Tanner, is Nebius at 93 a better long-term investment than Palantir at 160? I will say that I'm not going to give any answer to this, and don't listen to what I have to say, but I currently hold Nebius and I do not hold Palantir. So with my own money, I'm betting on that Nebius will do better than Palantir. However, yeah, I like the growth more. It's a space that I understand. It stays in line with Nvidia and the hardware build out. I'm just very happy. Okay. Let's see. Someone said, Tanner, what the heck is going on with PayPal? Please, Tanner. Well, I just actually bought back into PayPal. And since I bought back in, we're down 2%. So, yeah, that's just generally people believing that especially with stablecoins and these things that are happening on chain, that the take rate for payments is just going to compress and compress and compress. Now, the thing that I might need to talk about is that whenever you're buying a really, really great business, we're talking a Google, a Meta, an Amazon, or even more futuristic businesses like a Tesla or something like this, like things that are long shots into the future. Time's on your side, okay? The stock might not turn around in the short term, but in the long term, you're going to continuously get higher and higher profits. You're going to get that growth rate. You're going to get all those long-term benefits of investing in technology and growth. Okay, that's great for the long term for those businesses. Whenever you're buying a recovery play like this, the problem is the long term is not in your benefit. Okay, it's the short term that should be the play. So in the long term, PayPal has more companies that enter payments. There's new technologies that are found. And if they're not moving fast enough, that could mean that the business continues to lose market share on the payment side. Okay. E-commerce growth, all of these things, you see a large competition. So what I will say, and remember this, whenever you are investing in like a recovery name, a company that might be losing market share, it better be a short-term investment because the long-term makes the trade much, much harder. For a growth company, for long-term investment, the short-term is less important and the long-term is much easier to invest in. So it's actually anti how I usually invest would be to buy something like PayPal. And honestly, like, who knows? If they end up showing off Q4 earnings in 2026, also the guidance does not look good, I'm out. Like, I mean, honestly, I because the thing is that, like, over the long term, they do not stand to benefit. Would love your high-level thoughts on Futu. I've learned a lot from your content. This one looks underappreciated. Unfortunately, I don't have any or high-level thoughts on Futu at all. I'm a user of Moomoo, the brokerage, just to show you guys pricing on screen. You know, but and I'm sure your money is safe with them. I'm sure the product is actually really good. Like they were putting out a ton of new products. They're very quick to offer 24/7 trading and 24/5 trading, and you know, all of these things. But in terms of the stock, how much earnings they have, if they even have any cash or debt, like I literally have not even taken a first look. So, Logan, unfortunately, I can't give you a proper answer. Jake said, Tanner, speaking of payments, why pick PayPal over Shift4? I like them both. I hold them both. I like them both. Why is BMNR up today? Because Ethereum's up today. Like, legit, BMNR does nothing. They don't do anything, you know? They buy Ethereum. You know, you create your own BMNR tomorrow. It's just, how do you continuously raise money and go out and do that? I think that's the hard part. You kind of have to be a viral influencer like Tom Lee to enable what they're trying to do. Maybe some key man risk there, but yeah. So right now they buy Ethereum. There's some technical analysis and stuff like this that they try to do to buy at good prices and not buy at bad prices. So they've been accumulating cash and stuff like this. That's part of the strategy part, and that's where the head count and the talent there, that's what they're working on. But if Ethereum goes up, BMNR goes up. If Ethereum goes down, BMNR goes down. It is as straight out as that. Like, okay. Let's see. When are they staking? I don't know. That I don't know. I've heard some conspiracies about if they were to stake, it would lock up liquidity, which would affect the price and volatility of Ethereum. they do not, or they have not confirmed that, but maybe that is that, or they don't want to stake until they get to 5% or maybe somewhere near 5%. So then once they stake, the volatility of Ethereum might go up by locking up a certain amount of the supply. I do own Amazon. Big fan of Amazon here. Huge fan. Yes, I'm going to be streaming at this time, not later on. I don't know how it would, what time it would be in Finland. I guess, what would that be? More like 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. versus 3 a.m.? I could be off on my time there. No, I think I'm right. I think it's 8 p.m. rather than, yeah. Or sorry. Well, it's 10 now, but I've been streaming for 2 hours. So, oh wait. Yeah, I don't know. Forgive me. I don't know what time it would be. There are a lot of Finns in chat. Price target for Nebius. Guys, honestly, the truth is I don't really do price targets because how can you? Companies grow and then they end up beating estimates and then they end up like, you can only try to project out so far. But I try to look into these businesses, but really I'm more reactionary on how I hold my stocks. If companies underperform my short-term targets and they're making moves I don't like, I trim them and I trim them quickly. And if they are continuing to blow away my expectations, my price targets get raised. Okay. Had to leave Shift4 and PayPal and PayPal behind. Too much murkiness. It's going to happen for payments, but I think there's a lot of opportunity there, at least for me and my portfolio. What is your position? What is your position size percent wise compared to Hood? What company are you? Position size in what? I don't hold Wise if position Wise compared to Hood. To what stock? If you're literally talking about Wise Financial, I don't hold Wise. Nebius compared to Hood? Oh, Nebius compared to Hood. Hood's probably about 3 or 4 times higher. Yeah, my Nebius position is brand new. Brand new. I didn't buy anything today. Nothing today. I'm fully invested right now. I knew he meant percentage-wise, but I didn't hear about any stock before that. Yes, I do think that Nvidia's numbers are going to be bullish. What the stock does as a reaction to the numbers, I think might be a little different. We still don't have China coming in and making any meaningful dent in earnings. They essentially, Jensen came out and said that he has 0% market share in China. But data center investments continue to increase. You see it from all the cyclical financing. You see this from every single increase in artificial intelligence across every enterprise, sovereign AI, all of these things. And that's only going to increase with more self-driving and more robotics and all those additional investments that are also happening for the next few S curves of AI. Okay. Would you bank with SoFi or New if they were in Canada? SoFi. SoFi. I think the truth is that SoFi offers products that I think target me much more. I think Nubank is much more for people that are trying to build credit and stuff like this. I don't know. I haven't checked my credit score in a bit. I could check right now, but last time I checked, I was over 800 or so. So like New doesn't really have many products for me anyway. They don't offer mortgages or any of these things. Yeah, I don't know if this shows my thing or not. Maybe, hopefully I can just safely show this, but little brag for you. And you know what's funny? It's actually it's historically low right now. I'm usually sitting at 820. However, Nubank is not going to service me at all. But yeah. I just opened a SoFi checking account, and soon you'll be able to do credit. Or not credit, sorry, crypto. Is that out of 1,000? What credit score is out of 1,000? You tell me. Credit in Canada is the same as credit in the United States. FICO scores are the same, essentially. It's always out of 900, and really, a lot of the time, it's maxing at 850. But it is out of, it's 300 to 900. Tanner, talk about SoFi review. Terrible SoFi reviews on Google Play. Curious your thoughts compared to the Apple Store. Yeah. Okay. BMNR is really cheap compared to Ethereum right now. Tom Lee is likely diluting shares right now based on the price action. If BMNR is historically cheap compared to Ethereum right now, which I don't know if that's even true. I think they might be slightly below MNAV. Why would he be diluting shares in order to buy Ethereum? It's actually quite the opposite. Usually if BMNR was expensive, then they could sell something that is expensive to buy something that's cheap, right? So then you can get more for your dollars. If something is cheap, you don't like sell your like you want to exchange let's imagine you're exchanging currencies. Do you exchange currencies to go, you're going on a European trip? Do you do that whenever the US dollar is really weak and the euro is really high, that you're going abroad from the United States to Europe? That's when you sell all your US dollars? No, you rotate it whenever the US dollar is really high and you can buy euros really low. No, you sell the dip and you buy the top. That might be the new school of investing that they cover. I haven't gotten that one yet. $30 stock price on BMNR is expensive for a zero revenue company, so he's definitely diluting to buy Ethereum. That's not how finance works. There's a thing called book value, and they hold a lot of Ethereum. And so you're diluting essentially just Ethereum. You're diluting your entire book value, which is made up entirely of Ethereum, to go buy Ethereum. You're like going into your closet, you're finding the gold that you've stored in your safe, and you're saying, hey, you're going to a pawn shop, you're saying, hey, can I go sell this gold? And by the way, are you guys selling any gold? I would love to buy. What are you talking about? And by the way, saying $30 stock is not inclusive of any sort of commentary about market share. So you need to include, anytime anyone says the stock price is this, that's how I think that it's expensive. We need to understand that a stock price is, a division of how many shares there are outstanding. Okay. So please use market share, not stock price. Everyone's laughing at you. Don't do that anymore. Okay. SoFi for life. SoFi $1 trillion company. We hope so, right? Okay. And how many shares are outstanding? I think it's 350 million, something like that. Oh, wait, we don't know. I mean, we do know. It's not clear all the time that we know, but I think the last known update based on the warrants was like 352 million or something like this as of like 2 weeks ago. Did I say market share? I meant market cap. You're right. I meant market cap. Do you think Nvidia will save the market tomorrow or help crash it more? No, I think that it will help. An increasing amount of revenue and profits, because gross margins are going to continuously increase, I think is going to help markets. Let's take a look at the actual stock prices, by the way. I'm not used to this. The markets are open right now. BMNR is up 5.8%. Nebius up 7.7%, 92.60. Meta still below 600, but hovering right at that price. There was some commentary about Paramount actually looking to make a large bid to Warner Brothers Studios. So yeah. There was some commentary a little bit ago yesterday. CBOE to launch U.S. regulated Bitcoin and Ethereum perpetual futures on December 15th. This might also help the crypto markets as well. If there's more participants of the market, that could lead to more volatility, more potential bearish, or sorry, bullish and bearish activity. But good for these types of things. Tanner isn't happy with me saying things will keep falling. No, it's not that I'm not happy. I just don't believe you. I don't think that anyone has a crystal ball. I'm aware that you got a lot of money, Dookie, but come on now. Come on. I don't believe anyone has the crystal ball. And I don't think that 167 is where Nvidia bottoms. I think we go up. Maybe not tomorrow, but I generally think Nvidia is going to continuously make more money, and it will be a $10 trillion company here in the midterm or bleeding onto long term, if you consider 4 years long term. What do you think of Constellation Software? I don't really think of them. I always hear comments about them being like the baby Buffett, but hard to learn from the CEO whenever he's done one interview in the last 20 years or something like this. No, I don't use Moomoo. I've got no money at Moomoo. I don't use it. It's just I like the colors on stream. Very dark background, very easy to see. Yeah. That's all. Just gotten used to the UI. Okay. Okay, one more prediction question. Fed cut in December? I think yes. Now, I don't think that you should base your investing strategy on my pure speculation. Pure speculation. However, I do think that we get a 25 basis point cut. Let's see. We're getting a rate cut in December. I don't see any way around it. Yeah. I put my life savings in SoFi. Am I cooked? Do you mean into the stock or into the into the company. If you put it with their checking and savings, like as actual savings, you're not cooked. But I don't think that anyone should be 100% in any name. You know? I think it's fine to be very bullish SoFi. I've just never been a big believer in having a stake in any business over 50%. Things can always go wrong, you know? $35% in SoFi. Yeah, if you have high conviction that they continue to make the right decisions and, you know, lending is going to be fine, at least in the short to midterm, then you might make out like a bandit. I think people have a really hard time, especially whenever they're seeing red, to believe that SoFi can go to $40 or even $50 or $60. But we have to remember that growth accelerating and increased margins allows for an explosive change in re-rating on stocks. That always happens. We've already seen it happen since the loan platform business, which has been out for 5 quarters. And we went from $7 to $32 at the high. Okay. But 7 from Q3 of 2024. I'm not talking about the lows of, 428 or 424 or whatever it was. I'm talking like literally from Q3 of 2024 to, Q3 of 2025. Those 5-quarter prints had actually allowed them to, what is it? 3x, 4x the business? Decide between DCAing and not becoming overweight on that stock. In that sense, best ones to DCA amongst Rocket Lab, Duolingo, Pint, Figma, Lulu, Meta, Amazon, Easy DCA. I don't even know what you're trying to state, but yeah, I do think that a lot of these names are going to be fine. There's Rocket Lab, Duolingo, Figma, Lululemon. Yeah, I mean, I like them all. Thank you for the donation, by the way. It's not needed at all, but very much appreciated. Tesla is 50% of my portfolio because I bought in at $15. You got to love it. You have to love it. I'm still a big believer in Tesla. I just thought that the valuation had gotten overextended for what we are going to see for the next 2 quarters in terms of their actual business right now. Okay. 30% Hood, 30% Oscar Health, 30% BMNR, 10% cash. I'm cooked. You are very, you're like, it's like the thing of like, hey, what do you guys think retail is investing in? That's your portfolio. But honestly, you might be fine. I don't know much about Oscar, but Hood is definitely proving, and I think Ethereum is definitely proving to be very real and growing. That portfolio would keep me up at night. Oh my gosh, yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that. Are you kidding? But hey, to each his own. Many people have much, much higher risk tolerances than I do. That's for sure. Yeah, put that 10% into Open Door. Then you have a real retail strategy going on there. Oh, I meant DCA versus getting overweight as a broader question. I see. DCAing versus not going. Yes, I see. No, yeah, I think the DCA strategy is perfectly fine, and I love DCAing into names to build out those positions. But yeah. 40% SoFi, 35% AMD, 10% Hood, 15% Path. What's Path up to these days? I have not followed UiPath in many years. Oh, okay. And this is a turnaround play? Is it worth looking into? Is a lot of people following UiPath? Is this a turnaround name that I need to follow? I don't have any on DOS. Seeing people own 30% of one stock is pretty shocking. I try not to go over 15% in one stock. I mean, I do have over 40% of my portfolio in Nvidia. So like, I get it, but even that is not normal for me. It's the highest like concentration that I've put in a name in a very long time. So yeah. Intuit just announced a multi-year strategic partnership with OpenAI. Intuit's apps will soon be in ChatGPT, unlocking the power of Intuit's AI-driven expert platform. We're taking another step forward to power prosperity for every person, business, and dream. All right. Also, what did you guys think about the Trump ABC reporter comments? I definitely did think she was way out of line with the questions that she was asking. I thought that was, you know, some gutsy questions to be asking the Saudi Arabian crown prince about 9/11. And honestly, I thought his answers were phenomenal. But yeah, very nasty in the way that she brought it up. I did agree. $50 billion were liquidated from crypto over the last 90 days. In my opinion, we got the flush we needed to not have a crypto big short incident before the next leg up. Yeah, no, I mean, that is a real belief, I guess, eh? What did I miss? A pretty great The only problem with the conference was the volume was way too low. But Trump essentially secured $1 trillion, up from $600 billion, which was the original hope for Saudi Arabia's U.S. investment in things like artificial intelligence and semiconductors and infrastructure and energy and stuff like this. So that's what ended up turning around the market midday, roughly about 12:30 or so, which secured a nice little change in our portfolios. Google 288 off of the Buffett incident, him buying in. I'm seriously a big believer in Google. Gemini 3 looks awesome. That's so funny. Brad Gerstner might actually consider selling his OpenAI shares after seeing the Gemini 3 release. It does look amazing. Okay. Yeah, I don't understand panic right now when the market has been going up in a steady line since April lows. Well, I think that's what people are a little bit concerned about, is that, you know, how much of the future prospects are already priced in. You know, were people essentially predicting perfect scenarios of trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of foreign investment, of rate cuts, of quantitative tightening ending, and then potentially even some level of quantitative easing or stimulus checks or stuff like this. How much of these good scenarios need to potentially not happen in order for it to kill the party, to end the music? Is it a single 25 basis point cut from not coming through and we end up seeing a pause? Is that kill the music. And so we're just seeing a little bit of a shakeout. But honestly, we're down like 4% from the highs on the market. Like, this is not even, it's whatever. Retail is feeling it especially hard because there's select names that are going down a lot. Okay. But this is why you weigh your portfolio. Good quality names, huge percentages of your portfolio, and then the more speculative names make them much smaller. Okay. Did you know that large commercial bank rankings came out? SoFi is now 53rd. Great, topic switch right now. Let's go into SoFi and talk about this really quickly. As you guys know, I have some pretty full spreadsheets on some of the names that we end up covering, especially SoFi, as we've just continuously built out these spreadsheets over time. So if you're looking for some charts and data, you know who to come to, you know who to subscribe to, because we cover it in good detail. However, bank rankings also came out, and this is quite interesting as well. I don't think we ended up getting the FFIEC, but we did get the Federal Reserve Consolidated Assets Ranking. Over time, since SoFi has been a public bank with assets over $100 million, we've been on the Federal Reserve Consolidated Assets Ranking list, and it looks something like this. I can even make this text a little bit bigger. Actually, let's make it a lot bigger. We can make this a little bit bigger to help you guys see. A lot of old eyes in the chat. But consolidated assets on SoFi has taken a massive tick up quarter over quarter and allowed our ranking, which is, number one is JP Morgan, number two, I think, is Bank of America, and the list goes on. SoFi has continued to get closer and closer to that list. And here you're seeing another quarter in the books, Q3, only furthering that growth. Come on now. Come on. Can you give us a copy of that file? All of my spreadsheets and, my portfolio allocations and all that are part of my masterclass. So I give those guys access as a way of saying thank you. But yeah. Okay. ABC News journalist was courageous defending democracy and a free press. I mean, maybe you could potentially state that. I don't know if that's the way I would look at it. I do think that there still should be some level of respect. Okay. Better buy today, Amazon or Microsoft? I prefer Amazon. What are we talking about? The Trump, there was a Trump meeting where some lady from the ABC had, brought up some commentary that, I don't know, was maybe not for that meeting. Robotics is going to be like honestly, I think that if you were to look up all of the bubbles of the technologies that we're working on, including things like biotech and robotics, self-driving, artificial intelligence in general, like improving, manual data entry, and instead it's a lot of these AI models that are fulfilling tasks. So more agentic artificial intelligence, generative AI for advertising and these sort of things. All of these areas in this Venn diagram, Amazon would be in all of them. And I think, how can you not just love that strategy? You've been live for so long. What did I miss? This is going to be every single day, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, after these live streams, I'm going to try to get in all the chapters. I'm also going to probably look for help pretty soon to make these streams quite excellent. So let me know if any of you guys can mod. You know, I might even need to start hiring people to help me with research and stuff like this. So, going to be quite interesting. But my DMs are open if you guys are interested. On X, right there. But I will do chapters. That should be easy. I have to set an alarm on my phone for noon to remind me to hop on the stream. You can also, there's like a notification. It should be like right here, or I don't know what medium you're on, but there's a way that YouTube can send you that alarm, so you don't have to set like, you know, some crazy alarm each and every day. I don't follow many of the space stocks. I definitely should. I think it was a missed opportunity on my part. I got pitched Rocket Lab super early, like I think $4 or something like this. And just didn't see what all the hype was about. So missed opportunity. But that's why we, you know, that's why we, what was I going to say? Stay within our circle of competence. Tanner, would you want your own Bloomberg terminal? Honestly, no. I'm not allowed to share anything on it. So like anything that I want in terms of paying for software or services, I want to be able to share. So I pay for CNBC. I pay for Fiscal AI. I pay for Seeking Alpha. I pay for, you know, a few of these different services. I can't think of any off the top of my head, you know, ChatGPT or Grok or any of these. I can share all that stuff on screen. The Bloomberg terminal, you're not allowed to share that information. So, little hard. Okay. Terminal or fact? Yeah, but I'm pretty sure FactSet I'm also not allowed to share. So I've spoke with the Fiscal AI guys. They want to build out something as comprehensive as FactSet or Bloomberg Terminal. And, you know, not only is it much cheaper, but they're going to allow me to stream the whole thing and use it constantly. So, yeah. I can't. Well, I can speak out the information, but I'm not allowed to share screenshots or show my screen of the terminal. That's why you see nobody doing that, because they're not allowed. It's just part of the agreement. Erwin, are you a mod on Emits? Is that what you're? Is that what you said? Yeah, man, this Cloudflare thing sucks. X is being extremely bad today. I'm continuously able to go on and use it, but it's, you know, sometimes messing up or glitching, or I'm not seeing all the posts that everyone else is seeing. So, yeah. But, and this is not quite the same, but the reliance that we have on technology does give me super confidence that names in cybersecurity are always going to be a major point of investment. Annual recurring revenue, you know, especially for the big names, the margins are just going to be so much in their favor, and they're going to be able to set the prices. But yeah. Nebius now up 7.7% to 92.62. I think that this name's going to be do quite well, honestly. Ethereum now to 3160 right now, up 4.25% over the trailing 24-hour period or 12-hour period. Nubank down 1.7% to 1533. Upstart up 5%. SMCI up 4% to 3550. This name is taking a beating, eh? Just when everyone thought they couldn't go any lower, SMCI in the mid-30s here. Figure down 7.5% after having a pretty great earnings bump here. Stock ended up soaring, going from, essentially $34 up to $46 and now back to $39. Pretty crazy. PayPal is really attractive here, debating whether or not to buy 60 strike leaps or sell puts that are a year out. Dude, PayPal is looking way too cheap here. It's just a matter of if you think that the turnaround is going to be anytime soon. Look at this is last 5 days. It's historically the cheapest price that it's ever been since being a public company on a multiples perspective. Especially whenever you look at enterprise value, because they've got a huge cash position, way more than their debt. So it actually makes the stock even cheaper. I don't know, man. I kind of like it. Andre Karpathy said that he played with Gemini 3 yesterday via an early access, and he has a few thoughts. I usually urge caution with public benchmarks because, in my opinion, they can be quite possible to game. It comes down to discipline and self-restraint of the team. To not overfit test set. Oh, okay. I thought he was going to say, usually I urge caution with public benchmarks, and then say, but this time no, he just said, I urge people to caution some of these public benchmarks, meaning the rates that they're setting on their evaluations, which we'll show here in a second. Go talk to the model, talk to other models, ride the large language model cycle, use a different LLM model every day. I had a positive early impression yesterday across personality, writing, vibe coding, humor, etc. Every solid daily driver potential. Clearly a tier 1 LLM. Congratulations to the Google team. Over the next few days and weeks, I am more curious and on a lookout for an ensemble over private evals, which a lot of people and organizations will seem to build for themselves and occasionally report on here. So yeah, he's a little bit worried that potentially the evaluations on Gemini 3 are maybe not as bullish as one should presume immediately, which I shared here. We can take a look for the Google bulls, which I am extremely bullish on Google. But he's saying you can essentially game these numbers, which I have heard multiple times. You can almost make your model for these benchmarks. And that shouldn't be the way that it should be looked at. Which is also how I used to talk to some of my friends as well that would go to these, LLM arenas and say, hey, you know what? ChatGPT isn't that good. Look where Grok ends up facing. And it's like, man, it's not about how they rank. It's about how usable they are. It's about how they feel when you use them. And honestly, Grok sucks. Unless you're just doing pure research, any creative writing, image generate, anything like this, Grok is so bad, it's unbelievable. I will use GPT or Gemini any other day before I use Grok. And it's not because I haven't tried. I've used Grok a long time. And that's not talking about 4.1. I barely have any experience on Grok 4.1. I'm talking about 4. Yeah, Lori does not like Grok. Yeah, that's a joke that was made because I asked it who I was, and it said my name was Lori. Okay, let's see what you guys had said. Grok ignores Tanner. Yeah. It is good. It is good with research. Yeah, I don't know how that happens. Like we always say, like, oh, this is the worst AI is going to get, and then Grok was just actively getting worse. Like, it was so good whenever it came out that I was like, oh man, I have to pay. I'll pay like a whole annual subscription for their super Grok tier because this thing is amazing. And then I bought it and I'm like, why did you just call me Lori? And then it said, I have the thing that's set to say, hey, can we use your X for information? And then I'll ask it and I'll be like, what's my name based on my X profile? And it's like, we don't have access to that. I'm like, it does. I just checked the settings. Holy crap. It's genuinely bad. And everyone talks crap about ChatGPT based on some of the model evaluations and stuff like this. But at the end of the day, you ask ChatGPT to do something, you ask it who you are. It's just understanding the long context of the conversation is better than anything I've seen. For me, Grok is better than any of the others. You don't use any of the others. It can't be true. It can't be true. Upstart up 5% here. Let's see where SoFi is. SoFi down 1.2%. What happened with Upstart? Is this something in particular that they're up and SoFi's down? Or maybe SoFi is down because now officially we're a crypto company. We acknowledge crypto, and then whenever crypto sells off, SoFi's a crypto company. Supposedly we are at a very high amount of reviews on Upstart, which could signal that the usage has been up over time. Yeah. SoFi down 1.4. Klarna down 7.4. If I'm not mistaken, they ended up showing off earnings or something like this this morning, and that's what ended up killing them. Let's take a look. I'm pretty sure that was on CNBC. It is a name that I do want to get into. It's just, or not get into, but learn about. Okay. Where was the Klarna one? Yes, this was from this morning. Okay. Let's have a looky little listen.
Quarter results, they are out. The company reporting $95 million net loss during the quarter, revenue rising 26% to $903 million. That's a record high. U.S. sales jumping 43% from a year ago. Company saying its Klarna card added 4 million signups since July, and the platform added 27 million new users with 235,000 new merchants. Joining us right now is the company's CEO, Sebastian Siemiatkowski. I've always mispronounced it, and I apologize. Klarna's CEO and co-founder. It's great to see you. Let's talk about the quarter, and then I want to actually talk about some of your thoughts about what's going on in the AI space right now. Obviously, the business is doing pretty well. By the way, I should say the stock's off just marginally, but the stock's been, I mean, the whole market's been down. What do your earnings say about where we are as you see this in the context of the economic cycle we're in?
Yeah, so those are two very different questions. I mean, the business itself is doing fantastically well, in my opinion. Our revenue growth in the US has now picked up to 51% year on year. On global level is 28%. So that's fantastic. Over 3 million active card users. Over 1 million active card users versus virtually zero a quarter ago. I mean, that must be the most.
I like the idea of you're on screen. You could see yourself next to your super red chart. He must just be thinking, man, I wish I was private again. Like, this is a sad man, right? Is no one else seeing this sadness? Oh, this is super excellent growth. Stock is down on the numbers. No one's happy.
Successful new card launch of a bank in US ever. Not that we're a bank in the US yet, but in Europe. So I think all of those looks fantastic. I mean, we also celebrate now, we've actually issued $500 billion over Klarna's 20 years history in 26 market at a record 70 bips or lower losses. So I think it just shows the sentiment of our underwriting technology, the strength of it, our ability to, and the fact that we do so short lending gives us a tremendous agility as you go through economical cycles to adjust, as we can shift our underwriting policy and have more than half of our balance sheet underwritten by new standards in about 40, 50 days, right? So I think from a business perspective, I feel very, very excited to see the progress and all the hard work of our teams paying off.
So what does it say about the broader economy, globally, in the US, elsewhere?
I look at it a little bit differently. And it's difficult in a media landscape like we have to get out a kind of a balanced message. But what I believe to happen is that we have these two big industries, one called Fin, one called Tech, both of which have enjoyed almost virtual monopolies. Like they have really enjoyed the fact that search costs have been high, switching costs have been high, barriers of entries have been high. And AI is putting a dent to all of that. It's going to make it much easier to compare terms. It's going to make it easier. You eventually soon will be able to click and move from one bank to another with the support of AI. And it's just dropping the barriers of entry because it's easier to be regulated, compliant, and so forth. That just means that those businesses, as every other business, will have to wake up every morning and ask themselves, what do I do to make my customer happy? How am I customer obsessed? And how am I operational efficiency? And the gourmet cafeterias, are currently called culture. They will soon be called overhead, right? So the point is that it's just going to be a different landscape. And I think that this is going to make these two half a trillion profit pools is in banking and $500 billion in tech. They are just going to be under heavy competition from people like Klarna and others who are going to try to come in and offer more value for the buck. And that's going to make a difference, right?
In terms of the strength of the consumer, do you think that consumers right now are over leveraged?
No, when I look at our data, our realized losses are coming down. It looks quite healthy. I do, because I've been underwriting $500 billion for 20 years, I think what is interesting this time around, though, is we might be in the midterm looking at an inverse of what anyone underwriting credit has seen for decades. And the fact is that traditionally, when we saw a lower economy or more struggling economy, it would predominantly affect low-income households, blue-collar jobs. What we're seeing now due to AI may be the inverse, where it might be the high-income or higher-income households due to the white-collar jobs being affected. I reflect often on the fact that when I see big companies like Volvo Trucks a few months ago announced that, due to the economical changes, they are making layoffs. Those layoffs, when I was a kid, they were in the factory, not in the headquarters. Now, nobody's touched in the factory. The layoffs are in the headquarters. So I think that may be the inverse of what underwriters are used to, because actually the higher FICO scores may struggle more financially, while the low-wage jobs are actually going to do.
So that's an interesting question. How do you get ahead of that situation? Which is to say, when you're underwriting a loan of any sort and thinking about the kind of job that somebody may have, what their income looks like, that income stream.
Really quick before they go on. It is interesting because you would think that means that the lower end bands are going to do well on the credit spectrum than the higher end ones. That although the people on the higher end spectrum are making more money, if you lose your job, you lose access to the ability for you to make money overall. Like it doesn't matter whether you're making 100,000 or 300,000. If they both go to zero, you're at zero. Now, on SoFi, they've also said that they are not seeing any credit problems. So you're sort of seeing both sides of the credit curve, the Klarnas of the world, who are stating that they're not seeing many people in the factory actually lose the jobs. The people in the office are losing the jobs. But SoFi, which is usually the people in the office that are taking out those loans, are also seemingly doing fine.
How do you think about those risks today?
So that's where the benefit of Klarna's business model comes into play, because we're not in mortgages and we don't do like credit cards. We don't try people to rack up as much debt as possible. The average outstanding debt on a credit card in the US is $5,500. It takes some time to pay that down, and the interest rate is very high. Our average outstanding balance is about $100, and we circle it for only like an average lifespan is 40 to 60 days. So as we kind of see if there is an economical downturn and we see that people of any income level struggle, we can quickly adjust our underwriting and we can refresh our balance sheet in 1 or 2 months. And this has always been the strength of Klarna, not very well understood, but one of the ones that I obviously have seen as a big strength of ours. And it's harder for a big bank when they change their underwriting policy. It may take them 2 or 3 years to cycle through a balance sheet that has been underwritten by previous standards. So for Klarna, I feel very confident that we can deal with that. But I think for the economy at large, I'm looking at those unemployment numbers and I'm trying to decipher from that what is low income, blue collar versus white collar and higher income. And could there potentially be that the unemployment is rising in the higher income, and would there be implications there? And what will be the implications for your underwriting strategy going forward due to that?
It's just that SoFi is not seeing it. Is it happening in the higher credit bands? I mean, it's definitely possible. What he's saying could be the case, but it's just not like what is happening. All right. There's some commentary. Okay, sorry. I wanted to show you guys this quick video because I thought this was absolutely insane. This is this guy's, I guess, robo-taxi ride, and you can tell because of the bottom screen that he's actually in a robo-taxi, and his quote-unquote safety driver is sleeping. Look at this guy. Ready for a turn? Oh, he must feel it in his hands that it's turning. Oh, hit a little speed bump. Come on now. The commentary from the person that posted this said that he fell asleep at least 3 times during the ride. What's with the safety drive? I mean, honestly, to some degree, that's sort of a benefit to just how good the software is that the safety drivers are just sleeping. Bro's had a long shift, I guess. Imagine if I could go to work and just... Unreal. If you're still getting paid, if someone's still getting from point A to point B, maybe that's actually a benefit. It shows you the strength of the product rather than potentially the other side. Speaking of which, Tesla just recently allowing anyone to go and download the Robotaxi app to be used in places like Austin. So it's available to Android users and, to the regular wild. So we can go use Robotaxi now. We'll see how it ends up picking up. I mean, obviously, like what Waymo has seen, the take rate for these types of products, the uptake for these types of products is really high because it's almost vanity right now. It's cool to get into a car that no one is driving, especially for a Waymo, because there's literally no one in the driving seat. So they definitely will fire him. He's definitely going to get fired. And by the way, deserves to be fired. You're not doing your job, you get fired. He's sleeping. You go home and you take naps. You don't take naps in the car in the driver's seat. But sorry, I forget where I was going. I got distracted by the comments saying that they shouldn't fire him. Let's quickly turn to some commentary from Peter Thiel, who had recently just sold out of Nvidia, but has been a long-term shareholder of the company. And at the time of recording, whenever you guys watch this, he was a shareholder of Nvidia. But this is some of his commentary about maybe what are some of the bearish sides of Nvidia.
yeah, it's probably quite tricky. If I had to, if you had to sort of concretize it, one thing that's very strange about if you sort of just follow the money, at this point, 80 to 85% of the money in AI is being made by one company. It's Nvidia. It's all on this sort of very weird hardware layer, which Silicon Valley doesn't even know very much about anymore. We don't really do hardware. We don't do silicon chips in Silicon Valley anymore. I get pitched on these companies once every 3 or 4 years, and it's always, I have no clue how to do this. It sounds like a pretty good idea, but man, I have no clue, and we never invest. And so, and then there's sort of this theory that the hardware piece makes the money initially, it then gets more commodified over time, and it'll shift to software. And the multi-trillion-dollar question is that going to be true again this time, or will Nvidia sort of have this incredible monopoly?
And what's your bet at the moment?
I suspect Nvidia will. I think it will maintain its position for a while. I think the game theory on it is something like all the big tech companies are going to start to try to design their own AI chips, so they don't have to do the 10x markup to Nvidia. And then how hard is it for them to do it? How long will it take? If they all do it, then the chips become a commodity and nobody makes money in chips. And so then do you go into hardware? And you should do it if nobody else is doing it. If everybody does it, you shouldn't do it. And then maybe I'm not sure how that nets out, but probably people stay stuck for a while, and Nvidia goes from strength to strength for a while.
Somewhere in there after that, he talks about Satan or something like this. that's Peter Thiel's prerogative, I guess. He can do what he wants. On a more realistic end, he is right. There is a possibility where big tech ends up making their own chips, and that hurts the margins. We've spoken about this a couple times, but is he selling out too early? I also think that is potentially true. By the way, I wasn't joking. Peter Thiel, if you guys don't know this, has a fascination with Satan. So maybe I lost my opportunity to interview him, but I mean, it's his own words. Like, he's done like TED Talks on it. I mean, like, he's a weird fella. Okay. Fear and greed, by the way, has it's extremely low and lower than yesterday, but has improved from where we were earlier today at only 9. Okay. It's not looking great, but honestly, this is usually where people tell you to buy. This is usually where the dips end up getting purchased, and this is where you can take advantage of some pricing maybe not lining up. On the other hand, there's a little bit of a change. We ended up seeing the chance of a non-rate cut be quite the minority, I think. In fact, yesterday it got as low as a rate cut being 42.9%, something like that. And today it actually broke above majority, 51.1% chance of a rate cut. If I could put my vote in, it would be in a rate cut. I think we're definitely getting a rate cut, 25 bips, and that will change the trajectory of stocks, especially the financials, the ones that have a lot of credit on the line, the ones with tighter margins that are very, very tied to interest rates and interest rate sensitive stocks. SoFi is highly on that list. Okay. SoFi's about to kiss green. Let's see. Wow. Yeah. No. I mean, this is quite a daily shift, eh? 25.71 to 27 is quite the pickup from negative 2.7 to up 1.8% on where I actually have the thing set. But through the end of the day, from yesterday's close to today, we're still down But why don't we just stay live till it goes green, huh? Berkshire Hathaway also looking pretty cheap here, only at the sweet price of $757,000 per share. That's nice. Also, this is the exact reason why people that say, oh, that stock looks expensive for $30 or stuff like this, like, it's about market cap. Please stop talking about prices of stocks having anything to do with how much their market cap is. Obviously, Berkshire Hathaway is still a $1 trillion company, but you'd be surprised to know that Google at $288 is over 3.5 times bigger than Berkshire. We're going back to Stocks 101 today. But yeah, I was just to a little callback to someone saying that BMNR at 30 is still expensive because other companies are $30 a share. How can BMNR be more expensive than, SoFi? Yada, yada, yada. Robinhood needs to tokenize it. Berkshire did that already with Berk B. So you can go and get a different class of their stock. Berk B. So you can get $500 shares and then, fractionalize shares at that. But I'm sure they will tokenize it. Tan, are you in Nebius? Yes, sir. I am officially. Yeah, had to sell Nvidia in order to buy Nebius. But yeah. Look at the 2 quarters before Nvidia earnings, some pattern with negative sentiment to cause. I've got the tools to do this. We can take a look. Are you suggesting that depending on the way that the day before earnings can tell us what's going to happen after earnings? Let me know, AJM, if I got you right. If that's the case, then we can look into that. If that's not the case, then I don't know what you're trying to say. But yeah, let's go through the price history. Great earnings. There we go. I didn't see a comment from 2 weeks before earnings. Ooh, I don't know if I can get you that. At least not what I have here. But if we go to the last quarters that we've seen, so remember, these are fiscal quarters. They're essentially just a year brought forward. But remember, 2026 is actually 2025, and 2025 is 2024. It's a fiscal quarter. Okay? So, yeah. Or you can look at the release date here. So, earnings beforehand, especially in these later quarters, before going into earnings, is usually down. Okay? Pre-earnings. However, post-earnings day, a mixed bag. In the last 8 quarters, we've seen 4 red days and 4 green days going into it, but only 1 green day beforehand. It is kind of interesting, especially as the surprises have tightened over time. You saw in, mid 2023 or fiscal 24 that these surprises were, 10% revenue surprise, 12%. These are huge. Now, the predictions from Wall Street have gotten really tight, and now we're, sort of yielding about 2% surprises, which is much more normal. Yeah. Okay. When's BMNR earnings, did you guys say? I didn't even see anything about this. Is this on their investor relations? BMNR announces date of fiscal 4th quarter and full year earnings release. Will be released on November 21st. Yes, I will be covering that for sure. November 21st before markets. There's not a lot of companies that do that. I definitely will be there. BMNR showing off fourth quarter and full year 2025 earnings release with no staking. You know, there's nothing to show off. It is bullish because I didn't think that they were going to do anything. And I was like, what the heck? So at least this, we're going to guarantee that we get a share update, which is honestly the most bullish thing a shareholder can ask for is transparency. I know some people have heard the arguments that, hey, if we give share count, then it gives more information to bears, which, you know, whatever. It's all, you're affecting the bulls as much as you're affecting the bears. I like transparency. Let me make my real decision. Shorts do not affect the fundamentals of a business. If they are buying or selling Ethereum, it's not going to be changed whether someone's shorting the stock. Tanner, do you see a divergence between Ethereum and Bitcoin in the last few days? We can check. I haven't, kept up with anything like that, but there's easy ways to see this. We don't really have to think too hard about it. Actually, Ethereum looking a little bit bullish in the last week or so. This is ETH to Bitcoin's ratio, in which Ethereum, if we end up looking over the last year or so, it is a little light. But yeah, we see an average here. If I remember the last 8 years or so, they average like 0.48 or something like this. So we're definitely, or sorry, 0.048. So we're definitely under that. But yeah, I think the last known share count was from last Monday, or maybe the Monday before, is 352 million. But yeah, they'll have to give us a share update this Friday. When is BMNR share buyback? I guess if we continue to hold below MNAV for a long time, they will potentially use some of that cash for a buyback. Yeah. ETH always struggles compared to BTC. Before Tom Lee pumped 3 months ago, ETH was struggling at low twos when Bitcoin was holding 100,000. Yeah, well, I do think that the ratio will improve. I think everyone hoped that it would happen sooner rather than later, but yeah. Man, my HIMS position has been nuked. This is why I never bought into healthcare companies. It's like, if you don't understand every aspect of the industry, it's like, okay, you like the products, but do you understand the industry? Like, healthcare is not my circle of competence. So I'm not touching companies that I just think are have high sales this year. So I don't know. Now, to be fair, the first time I heard about HIMS, I would still be so largely in the green. It's insane. But it's much easier for me to buy names in the industries that I know and can understand the moving parts there. And for me, that's financials and technology. And in specific segments of technology that I've been getting really into lately is advertising. I keep noticing that advertising is a big growing percentage of my portfolio. Just because it's AI proof. It's completely AI proof. Big meta guy, growing meta guy for sure. But like Reddit, TTD, App Lovin', looking at Zeta now. Like, I'm just like, all the companies I'm looking into are all AI companies, or all advertising companies. Do you hold any safe havens or value companies? I recently bought a little teaser position of PayPal, but no, no value. No conventional value companies. Talking about advertising, that's all those guys basically do. Are you talking about Meta? Yeah. Yeah, that's why I thought you had mentioned that question. That's. Would you buy Netflix? I've not been a big Netflix guy, and honestly, it's just based on my behavior with Netflix. I pay for it because, you know, my girlfriend wants Netflix, but I don't care for it. I don't care for it. I like YouTube a lot more. Yeah, I never understood the model. Like, I understand subscription-based content, but just like the cost of that content adjusts to how much money Netflix is making. And I know I'm wrong in this argument. I'm aware that their margins are improving. I'm aware that they're a growing great business. But I've always hated the model. So inherently, I've made a bad decision to not take part in Netflix. But I remember, like, how much did they pay for that Friends reunion or something? It was like $200 million for this show that no one's watching anymore. I mean, I'm sure people are, but like, I just never understood where we get like crazy economies of scale. Says the guy that pitched Axon. I would definitely pick Axon over Netflix. And there's not a statistic that you could show me where Netflix looks better than Axon. The growth, the margin, like, tell me what you like better at Netflix than Axon. Says the guy who likes Axon. What are you talking about? Yeah, I love extremely high margin moats. Yes, I do. Narcos is brilliant. Yeah, I know, but I've seen it. Like, how often do you want me to pay? You want me to pay monthly for a show that was brilliant once? I've seen it. I watch Narcos. I watch Narcos Mexico. I consume a lot of content. But if, let's say, the going gets tough, why am I paying for Netflix? I feel like that would be the first thing on the chopping block, and everyone goes, all right, we'll just watch the advertisements and freaking watch YouTube. Where's Fubo? Fubo's up 8%, $3.62. I'm here for angry Tanner. Yeah, I'm sorry. Tanner, you are loud. Turn me down. Does it not adjust? My understanding of the way that my microphone works, and maybe this is hard on the ears because I've just misunderstood, but like my yelling isn't actually getting louder. Am I just lying to you guys? You're like, no, you're definitely getting louder. But like, I'm not blowing out your speakers. ETH for SPET is doing ETH for institutions. Oh, is it a Spaces? Yeah. I don't know about all that. Okay. Do not get baited. All right. All right. Tanner, thoughts on Microsoft? Do you have any? No, Microsoft's probably the biggest and best company in the world that I do not have. And I can admit I'm wrong on that name. And I could admit that I was wrong on Meta on the way up. And if for example, Azure's growth ends up getting cut, and then we end up seeing the stock fall a little bit, and it gives me a reason to think that I'm buying on a dip, and I can feel like a smart investor, even though I might be buying, 10% higher than where we are today, I'll get in. But they're a beast. I'm aware. It feels high. Okay. No one compared. Look at this guy. Look how mad he's getting. Dude, I'm reading comments in real time, guy. You're like, hey, you read my comment wrong. I didn't read you wrong. Add more context. You just said, says the guy who buys Axon. Says what? What? Like, you could be 2 hours behind on the timeline. It's not my fault. Put in the comments whenever you hear the words that I'm saying. Everyone else is figuring out how to talk to me. You're behind. Figure it out. He's telling me to rewind it. No, I'm living in real time. JTB says, do you have any concerns about the Japanese yen carry trade? Is this going on again? I've not been keeping up with the Japanese yen carry trade again. That sounds like August 4th news to me. See, this is exactly what I mean. If I ask Grok a question, it's better than GPT and Gemini. We were talking about that a straight hour ago. I don't know who is even here live with me. If you guys are here live, please type live. I just want everyone to know that they are not live. Like, they clearly, if they're watching, then they see everyone spamming live, they're realizing that they're missing out on something. Yes. Love it. And then see, there's one comment in the middle of that. This guy's clapping. Gemini 3. He doesn't know what's going on. Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys. Bro, it takes you 3 minutes to get to comments. You're live in real time. Okay. Tanner needs bathroom break. Okay, so if you guys have been watching from the start, you will know that as we're playing some of these live streams, I'm turning off my cameras. I've realized in order for me to do these 3-hour streams, I'll need to walk away 3-4 times. I think I've realized during these shows I have like a child-sized bladder, and I'd love to cover the markets for you guys. Fubo up 8%. But I don't know how Amit does it, or some of these people do it where they just sit in a chair. Like No, I said child-sized bladder. I said bladder. I didn't say child-sized pee-pee. I said bladder. Yeah, it's true. I've never even seen Amit take a sip of anything. I'm over here drinking a tea, a coffee, 40 ounces of water. Is baiting Tanner becoming a new thing? No, it's been happening. It's been happening since I've ever done YouTube. Yeah. And we got this one guy, this just stealing time, is the only guy that doesn't understand that it's a joke. Everyone else is having fun. Tanner, you're muted. Muted. Yeah, muted. Oh, I actually might be muted. You know why? Because I've punched my mic before and then I've lost sound. However, I can see on StreamYard that the hello? Oh no, I really think I did mess it up. Okay, because I can see my sound, but sometimes it was actually not showing for a second. Oh, come on, dude. Man, I'm how is this my job? How am I this freaking stupid, man? Let's go watch the markets. The Q's down still 0.7%. I'm napping. Yeah, I should go be a safety driver for Tesla. And the SPY down 0.3%. Trump said that he's talking to various people for the next Fed chair. He already thinks that he knows what that Fed chair choice is going to be. He would love to get Powell out right now, but people are holding him back from firing Powell. And they want to get someone. It could be someone potentially, what do you call it? Conventional, but that might end up changing. They might end up just putting in someone completely new. Who knows? Okay, let's see. A lot of people are looking at Gemini and making some pretty wild things with it already. A lot on the coding side. I guess people are pretty blown away with what you can do on Gemini 3. I don't know how it translates to the subscription pricing for Google and how that affects earnings. Obviously, that won't be in the short term. But if they can start to get out some larger enterprise level contracts and upgrade, massive enterprises to all get the AI packages with, their already existing Google workspaces, then that could be quite interesting. Okay. What's going to happen if they fire Jerome Powell? Will markets crash? No. I actually okay, so two things. I don't think it's going to be a traditional. In May, his natural walk-off is going to happen. Okay, that's perfectly fine. That's the way that the order should be. I think a lot of the market believes and should believe that the Federal Reserve is a real institution, very important to the American, economy and institutions that we've created so far. And it's been good that it's a private entity away from the government. Okay, it works. However, so there's two things. If people believe that the Fed does not have independence and that goes away, that could signal some larger fears. However, if we do end up getting someone in that is a little bit more dovish, a little bit more excited for rates to come down and allow to stimulate economies just a little bit more, well, that could be very bullish for economies. So I think the Fed's independence is very important, but a dovish Fed chair is also very exciting. Just because, lower interest rates always allow for people to borrow more money at cheaper costs. See, these people are still saying live. Like, this is where we are these days. If he gets fired, the market is finished. I don't know if it's that severe, but there will definitely be a correction period. I don't know how much of a correction, like if it's going to be Liberation Day level fears or something along those lines, but I do think it would definitely be a hard blip. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like these sort of midday streams, I'm going to be doing them roughly at noon every single weekday from Monday to Friday, unless the markets are closed. And we'll be going through different deep dives, different commentary about the markets, what Trump has to say, and different political events, all of these things. This is your midday market monitor. If you guys like these sort of streams, hit the subscribe button down below. That's all the support that I ever could possibly ask for. But until next time, bye for now.